Hey, and welcome to another episode of Fighting Words. What is this, our third one?
I think it's the third Fighting Words, yeah.
Third one.
Because remember, the whole thing kicked off on a Saturday, so Fighting Words kicked off 1 week later than everything else. So it should be third, I think.
And that's the third event, third qualifier. Yes! We're fully in the groove now.
That's
Myself,
we're flowing, baby.
Logansama, F Word. We're here to cover everything Street Fighter related out there in the world. Of course, focusing on the Capcom Pro Tour that is in full swing now. We're into our second month of the Pro Tour. It's
Where
like
did that
flown
time
by.
go? Where has that time gone? I don't know.
And we now have 3 names out of the 18 that will
We
be
do.
qualified. Phenom being the first, Mandrake,
Mandrake.
and now SKZ.
SKC.
Some surprising
SKC.
names, I think. One of the first one was very obvious, but we've had 2 definitely weren't top seeds.
No,
qualified.
not top seeds. And we were discussing this before the show, and I want to get in more detail about it later. But despite them not being top seeds, if you look at the performance on the day,
Yeah.
man, these are deserving qualifiers.
Top performances.
Absolutely, exactly. You
Brilliant.
can have tournaments where arguably the best person on the day doesn't win. It can happen, right? It's rare, but it happens. I don't think that's the case with either of these guys. They both played out their minds. So, yeah, well done to them.
Yeah, so we just had the Southeast Asia CPT-1 happen this weekend. The players such as Cien involved, Chuan were the 2 heavy favourites. We saw Chuan make it to grand final. Cien suffering a shock loss early on in the tournament to Potato.
A guy he does really good against, actually, when I see them play online. So, yeah, unfortunate for him.
Some good representation from some of the younger players as well. Of course, SKZ, relatively young. Bravery had a really good performance
Bravery,
as well.
what a player. Frightening, electrifying style of play. Very close to eliminating Shen as well. Just couldn't in the end. Yeah.
And some really cool sort of, again, character variety. There were no Urians this time.
No Urian, surprisingly.
Jin Kyaku almost made it in, the Urian from the Singapore region, but we had 2 sets, I guess.
You did have 2 Seths, yeah, absolutely.
We had a player using Nash that was very exciting.
Oh, man, he was really good.
Yeah,
man.
Aaron Manuro.
Aaron Manuro, yeah. And he switched at one point, though, didn't he? He picked Nash for the most part, but he changed up a little bit when he needed to as well.
Yeah, I mean, he went through the whole card. He used, me and Jammers were talking about like his matchup against Mind RPG.
Yep.
Bison, and Bison traditionally does well against both of Aaron's notable characters, which are Nash and Vega. Claw.
Yeah, I think he annihilates Nash. And Vega, I think he edges, but
Edges
Nash is
out. I think
horrible.
from the number, and we've seen a lot of that in our region. I think we're quite blessed to have some really, really good examples of some matchups, and Bison versus Vega is definitely one of them.
Yeah, we're super exposed to
The only one I think I know better than that is Bison versus Cammy.
I was going to say.
I know that. I know like the back of my own hand. But yeah, then he surprised us and brought out a Zeku, which was a big swerve for us. So that was cool. We had, who else did we have in there? Potato accounted himself very well. Mika as well.
Yeah, a good run, Potato.
Yeah, we almost had Fubar Duck in there as well with Mika and G.
Oh, he just missed out, didn't he, on that
losing to Mind RPG.
top 8 spot.
KOF Master keeping Manat alive as well.
KOF Master actually played really well. Apart from his insistent wake up critical arts, which was something that he just felt like he had to do, although he made it safe a lot of the time as well. Apart from that, his actual game before he got into panic mode was very solid. I'd like to see him with a bit more composure. He could have gone a bit further, I feel. I really liked his Manat.
Yeah, but the big shock, of course, was that CM went to a loser's bracket very, very early on. And in the end...
This is what we get, Logan. We were too confident, weren't we? We were saying, like, all right, this is one, there's not going to be any shocks this time. Shen plays loads online. We were talking about it. And there it was. Not even later on in the bracket, very early, Shen sent to losers.
Before top 16. I have to say, in the interview that we did with Sien, he did say, when I'm playing in the region, online is very good in the region. It's almost as good as playing people offline, apart from playing the Philippines. And lo and behold, in winner's bracket to qualify for top 16, that Filipino flag was there on the screen, and it was Mika as well.
Yeah. Unlucky Shen.
Didn't work out for him. But he has another chance at rolling the dice. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. The big surprise, though, was, just how good SKZ was.
Yeah, because obviously if you see Shen not winning, the obvious next pick, this guy won 2 online CPT tournaments in 1 year in 2018, is Chuan. That's the guy you're expecting to take it. And Chuan, after a fantastic performance against Shen, just couldn't get close to
And it was a really close winners' final as well. It was back and forth.
Yeah, the winners' final was super close, but in the grand finals...
They brought it back. It was set point down. I think it was 2-1, set point down to Chuan, and then SKZ brought it back.
Brought it all the way back.
Made its way into grand finals. This grand finals was a blow up. I'm not going to mince my words. 6 rounds straight.
Yeah,
it was a blow up. Let's look at the highlights because you're going to see exactly why I feel this matchup is very, very difficult for Guile. It's certainly not unwinnable. It's not, and you rarely get matchups like that in Street Fighter 5. We'll talk a little bit more about it in depth after you watch this. But here's the highlights: SKZ versus Chuan, grand finals, SE Asia CPT1. Check this out.
Another one.
Yeah, exactly. All right, 63 seconds left. Tries to go for the upside down kick for the whip punish on the V-trigger activation, but doesn't get it. Great slide switch with the V-trigger. This is a lot of damages.
Yeah, keep the corners well. EX Hekatonkaries right there to tank the first round. Again, SKZ only has to win 3 games here.
SKZ is activated, trying to hit him with the crouching medium kick.
Now, Chuan is also one good critical art away from taking the game. No, that's going to be good, though. Does he spin here? Looks like he's going to. That's going to be...
Just off the cross-up there, Reese.
I think this is... I'm not sure if this is enough. Yeah, it's enough. It's enough. For sure. During V-Trigger, you get the buff, so yeah. He's actually opting for V-Trigger 1. If you guys have been paying attention to Sanko, that guy's also been running some crazy V-Trigger 2 stuff, which might take the character over the edge.
Dominating performance here from round 1 of SKZ. I mean, are we going to see a 3-0 here in grand final with Seth? Chuan sniffs out the overhead. Seriously in trouble here now. He needs to activate if he wants to stay alive, East.
He's got to do something here. Oh my god, the spin kick here going to get to the fireball and then medium wake up. Chuan really hesitating on the anti-airs right now. SKZ just jumped over him twice. He could have opted to go for the flash kick, but did not. Again, there's the spin kick to get to the fireballs. What do you do?
Ooh, and a great shimmy. I haven't seen Chuan so lost in the corner here. SKZ is just doing such a good job of keeping Chuan in the corner now. Oh, and a great flash.
Okay, there's finally a challenge.
Alright, here comes now plus frames. Tries to go for the shimmy. Oh, and the critical.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
That makes sense. Once he saw that he activated, he's like, you don't have V-reversal anymore, so I can just ship you to death. That's it.
Yeah. Alright, Chuan swinging for the fences now. There's the upside down kick. Doesn't quite grab it. Back throw again. We've seen this before, but just the wake up jump from SKZ. He's so confident in those.
Gotta be careful. Chuan does have V-Trigger on deck, though. Will he have a chance to activate it, or is he gonna have to spin it on V-reversal? Look at all the gray life.
Oh, and the V-reversal again tries to build that gray life on Chuan, but Chuan blocking just in time. Alright, SKZ. Both these players are about even on life, but there it is. SKZ, 1 round away. That tandem booster here now. Chuan, full critical art, needs to use it if he wants to stay alive. I think this is the 5th straight round that SKZ has taken.
Chuan's waking up here. I like this. You know, he started to anti-air. An activation here for SKZ, though. Got to be careful. Gets the corner. There's the extra damage as well.
And this is a familiar scene. This is where Chuan has struggled against
Throw.
Seth. 2 throws.
Throw.
We're going to see a third. Tries
Not
to
like this,
with
please.
the crouching medium kick.
Activation. Here we go.
Chuan
Yo,
fighting for his
SKZ's
life
backdash
here.
4 times out of that.
Oh, and that's going to cost him a lot. Straight into the critical art. That is it. SKZ is through to the Capcom Cup. Singapore is through to the Capcom Cup. SKZ has done it 3 straight rounds in the grand final. Winner's side. What a dominating performance from him. He's just fantastic.
An incredibly impressive performance there from SKZ. Made it all the way through in winners. Really, really dominant. He did have a close set in winners, as we said, winners finals against Chuan, but that grand finals was just one-way traffic. And I think it really highlights how difficult that matchup is for Guile to deal with Seth.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to really call how hard a matchup is off such a short exposure to it, right? Seth's so new, and this is like one of the first high-level sets. We've watched a lot of Daigo versus Sakonoko, and it doesn't go like that, right? But there's a lot, with respect to Sakonoko, that SKZ is doing specific to that matchup that Sakonoko just isn't, you know? And actually, it makes sense because it's more read-based and risk-based versus Sakonoko plays a much more clean, calculated style. But some of those preemptive, like Tatsu's, like in mid, even the way he finished it in the end, like just that, you know what, I'm just going to, if you throw a Sonic Boom within this period, within these 22 frames, you're dead. You know, like stuff like that really gives Guile something to think about. He can't play his traditional game without hesitation, essentially.
So the tools, let's break it down specifically. The that Seth has access to that make it very difficult for Gal to play a keep out zoning game, which is what Gal wants to play. Heavy Tatsu, you can throw out preemptively because it's +2 on block.
Yep.
It will go through projectiles. It's 4 on the 4th frame to the 26th frame. It's projectile invincible. 27 frame start.
4 frames, it's projectile invincible.
So you can throw that out preemptively. It's got 22 frames of projectile invincibility. It will go through booms, and it's plus on block. So there's almost
and he gets a dash on hit as well, right?
On hit gets dash. I think it's +3. There's almost no risk assigned to that unless Guile starts baiting and just doing random neutral jumps.
Or random forward jumps even, just like takes a risk and does that.
So you have Heavy Tatsu to worry about. You have Axe Kick, which again is very, very difficult to deal with.
Extremely difficult.
It changes the jump arc in a slowdown way because you have moves like Kami's EX Cannon Strike, which will change the jump arc by making it faster. But it's almost like those moves that slow down the jump arc and bait out your reversal are worse in some
yeah, of course, and it's, I think it's worse with Seth, and we were discussing this amongst ourselves for a while. But for me, it's worse versus Seth because he also has more variation on the string.
Yeah.
Like Kami's dive kick, light kick, heavy kick, medium kick, it's still kind of the same trajectory that you're looking at, the same hang time that you're looking at. That's not changing. But the variation from his heavy axe kick to his light axe kick, for a guy like Gal who likes to anti-air from certain ranges with normals, then flash kick as well, it's a nightmare.
And you can use it in multiple situations as well. We saw SKZ will use it in neutral as well. It will go straight over booms, and
yeah. And I saw Tron was trying to adapt and started doing back. Is it back heavy punch? The backhand started doing
back
that.
Fist, yeah, which is forward fist. But
the
back fist is forward.
Back fist is this one, right? He started swinging the back fist, the forward fist at him, right? And it was hit. The axe kick's actually got a massive hurt box underneath it, so it was hitting it. But then he just did a raw jump heavy kick, and it's like, okay, well,
because that's the other thing. So you can do the Tiger Knee one that just goes and it will hop over. It's got an enormous hurt box on the axe kick as it comes out, and Seth can be up to +2. After that, not +2 within throw range, but it ain't your turn.
He's got some great range normals, so +2 is actually quite scary. Even
but
from
also
that
the
distance.
jump mix up as well, because you can, if you start going right, well, it's not worth my risk to try and anti-air. I'm just going to block. Seth can just start jumping in with light kick, and we saw SKZ do that as well. So there's a lot of preemptive stuff that Seth can do, and this is not even using the standard stuff that Seth has of I get my knockdown, I take my turn, and I'll cancel into a spin kick. If it's a heavy spin kick, I get another turn because I'm +2 again. If you try and interrupt and I do light spin kick, then you're going to get hit and knocked down. I've got the punches, the rush punches as well. One of the things that the difference between how SKZ was approaching that matchup and how I've seen Sako and some others is SKZ wasn't even bothering with tandem, because tandem's great for
he doesn't even choose that, right?
Tandem's great for going through projectile stuff and what have you, but it's kind of slow. You can't really react with it, and there's a big risk involved because you bring them in and you're minus, or you can get jumped in on. With the tools that he's got already, you don't need to risk that.
He already has a number of counter boom like tools, right?
Yeah, so he's just using V-Skill 2.
And V-Skill 2 is freaking
which allows
so good.
Again, it just allows him to traverse that neutral. Once Guile starts being fearful of throwing booms, you want to play the normal buttons game. All right, cool. Well, I'm just going to V-Skill across from half the screen away and punch my way in, and I'm only -2 as well.
And if he hits you as well, you're in the corner now pretty much half the time.
Corner carry
and
is
the
crazy.
corners, so I mean, his mid-screen throw game's already scary enough, and Guile's a 4-frame jab character, so he's got no 3-frame, right? He's in a real mix up there where he's going to be looking at a trade if he commits, or he's going to be getting hit, or he's got to take the throw oki, whatever it's going to be. In addition to that, he's got this. If you make a mistake and you get hit by that thing, you get sent straight to the corner, and his corner throw game is even scarier. I just feel like, look, Guile can fight the matchup. We're not talking about a 7-3 here. We're seeing loads of things
the defensive decisions are super important.
Exactly. I feel like the margin for error is super thin for Guile. That's what I noticed. And look, we saw a final match which was a lot closer between those two guys. But even for me, even when I was watching that winners final match, Guile was making, Chuan was making some incredible reads to stay ahead.
SKZ was getting in at will, even
when he was always in, but
even when he was 2-1 down. Yeah, he wasn't converting.
Exactly. And you really shouldn't be able to get in at will on Guile like that. No. Most characters can't. No, even Kami has to work fairly hard to get there. So it could be a case of we're still getting used to Seth still need to understand how to keep him out. But for me, looking at his jump variation, his moves, and also let's forget all that for a second. His normals and the range on his normals is super good. Like there's a point where Sacco does this too against Daigo. You stand at a certain range where you kind of lull Guile into a false sense of security where he feels like he can press a button or he can throw a boom. Yeah. And that stupid medium punch that
the
links
forward medium punch,
links into target combo from anywhere, right? Just catches Guile flinching, and suddenly, you know, and I'm pretty sure that's confirmable as well. Suddenly you're in this whole world of mess because it's usually a V-trigger activation.
And you've got the sweep as well.
The sweep that trades with a boom. Yeah, right. Keeps you standing. Yeah. Confirmable with critical art as well. He's got a lot of tools from a lot of different ranges. So if he's here, you got to worry about those long range normals. If he's here, you got to worry about the spin kick. And if he's anywhere there, then you're looking out for those jumps. So I think there's just a lot more to think about for Guile than there is for Seth, which is kind of the fundamental basis of what I would consider to be a difficult matchup.
Exactly, yeah.
Because at high level, it may go back and forth, but the fact that one's thinking a lot harder than the other.
Yeah, if you just look at tools, just raw tools, a character that is able to throw out things safely, and if it works, there's a decent reward. And if it doesn't work, the punishment for it is not severe. Like the heavy spin kick, you literally have to make a read on neutral jumping it or trying to interrupt it on stuff, which is a big risk. And that spin kick just existing puts you off of using 50% of your special moves as Guile.
That's it.
Now we've seen, you know, players like Daigo and Kaba play really well as a more normals-based Guile.
Yeah.
We've seen that. But that's been toned down every season for Guile. His command normals have got worse and worse. And they're still really good. The Sobak kick and the upside down kick are still really good. But they're not as good as they were.
They're not, no.
I think, this is going to be a very interesting one to see it play out. There's a 3v3 happening in Japan.
Yeah.
I think it's on July 4th. So this weekend coming. And there's a 3-man Seth team.
Oh, yes, I've heard about this.
Momochi, Sacco, and Kindevu.
Oh, my God.
And let me tell you.
That's it. Confirmed. Confirmed. Seth is top 10.
If Kindevu is playing a character, you know there is some bull-ish going on.
Holy Or you can... without a shadow of a doubt, Kindevu does not waste his time on anything. Even strong. He doesn't play strong characters. Specifically, Kindevu plays cheap as hell characters. That's his whole game plan. So now you've told me, I didn't know that, by the way.
Yeah.
Now you told me Kindevu's playing Seth. Everything I feared about Seth is now confirmed, guys. Fully confirmed, because Kindevu wouldn't touch him if it wasn't a complete, nonsense character.
Well,
so.
I have to say, all credit though to SKZ.
Amazing
a tremendous performance.
Amazing play.
I wonder if Xian watching back that grand final was just thinking, I should have picked my Seth.
We were saying this straight after he was 2-0 up. I was like, wait, did Xian realize that he could pick Seth, or has he tried this against Chuan?
I'm not sure.
Because look, Ibuki fights Guile. She fights Guile well. Maybe she even edges it slightly, right? Without kunai, it's ridiculous. But you've always got some kunai. But just looking at how hard Shen was working to get rounds against Chuan,
he's having to bait all. Do you know what? we'll come back to Shen and Chuan after this, because I want to play this interview with SKZ, who he's a really, really interesting young man. He's got a great Seth. Obviously, you've seen
what's his tournament history before this? Is this his first?
He only started playing competitively in 2018.
You've got to be kidding
Another
me.
one.
You've got to be kidding me.
Another one.
Unbelievable.
He goes into it in the interview, but he's only been playing. He played competitive Dota until 2017, and he's got some really great insight between, what it takes to be competitive in team-based esports, and the differences in fighting games, and his opinion on that. Of course, he breaks down a lot about Seth. Hopefully you enjoy it.
Fascinating.
We're going to flick in some highlights of his tournament run as well, so you can see some of the hype moments. Enjoy this. SKZ, the third name, joining the list of Capcom Cup qualifiers. Here we go. Let's hear from the man himself.
Yesterday, I was so excited, so I couldn't sleep at all. It's a very surreal feeling to be able to participate in Capcom Cup, because I wasn't even expecting to make top 8 actually, let alone win the whole thing. Super pleased with my performance, and hopefully by the time Capcom Cup comes, I can play even better. in this tournament, there were a lot of, I mentioned before that there were a lot of players that I didn't particularly want to face. Brandon, Oswald, Sian, Hiteoka, the Indonesian Honda. When the bracket came out and I saw it, I wasn't in the same path as these players. It gave me a better chance to reach top 8. But even so, on the road to top 8, it wasn't that easy as well. In my path, there was Jin Koyuki, the Urian player. There was Dr. Jimmy as well, if I recall. On my path, there were a lot of people who could have beaten me as well, but I'm glad that I managed to beat them this time.
SMB looking to run it back against SKZ, playing a much more cautious game this time. Just caught him with the Tatsu there now. SMB finding himself in the corner. Great jump in there from SKZ. SMB in trouble now.
Yeah, SKZ just making all the right choices there. Looks like Sherman trying to press buttons between the spin kick. He lost out on the regular jump kick. It might have been an act.
Okay, so I'll start with the characters that I think Seth is good against. So firstly will be Ibuki. Because Sian plays Ibuki, right? So the first time I played with him, Seth versus Ibuki, he could not believe how broken that dive kick was. Because from his perspective, there was no answer to the dive kick. Normally, the way you would try to handle the dive kick would be to preemptively throw out some, preferably a crush counter move. So let's say like Sagat stand heavy kick. You throw that out in neutral, I jump and I dive and you get a crush counter. So Ibuki's stand heavy kick whips on crouching, and having to press that preemptively in the neutral is really difficult. So, and I believe that in this game, whoever has a hard time dealing with dive kick does not have a good match against Seth generally.
Well, now he's got SKZ in the corner.
Yeah, that's right. Great back throw. SMB not opting to tech there, trying to push forward with the EX bicycle kick with SKC saying you're not getting away with that. Straight back in the corner. Great overhead into the combo, confirmed. Almost stunned.
I always thought that at the start when I was abusing the dive kick a lot when Seth just got released, so that it wouldn't have an answer. And eventually I played against players who would start throwing out these preemptive moves in the neutral and catch my dive kicks. So I thought that it will get weaker over time, but apparently it has not. Apparently it's still broken to everybody. So yeah, I think that it is strongest too. But in my opinion, to overcome Seth as a matchup, you have to overcome the dive kick first, because there are very few matches where you can say, okay, I'm just gonna completely ignore the dive kick and play my game, because that just doesn't happen against Seth if you want to win against Seth.
That's right.
Can a
SKZ now
booster to stay
threatening
safe, get a
again.
bit of push damage screen.
That's right. V-Skill 2, SKZ with the corner again. He's pressuring. Doesn't want to get Potato left out of the corner here. Potato already down to 50% life. Only 85 seconds left on the clock. Look at this stun on Potato.
Stun.
He's in serious trouble now. There's the axe kick. All right.
No.
Potato in serious trouble now. And there it is. A perfect and Potato.
If a player is blocking the dive kick, that also means that he will block a jump in. Because the timing where the dive kick hits you and the timing where you jump in is different. So if you try to focus on blocking one, it is very, very difficult to anti-air the normal jump in. And this is more prominent for characters like Akuma. So previously we talked about Brandon. He has one of the best autopilot anti-airs in Singapore. So with regards to his uppercut. But because he is so used to doing this, he has a weakness against the dive kick as well. And because, okay, let me see how to put this. Okay, so when I jump at him, he's already buffering the DT motion, but the DT motion does not involve blocking because it's forward motion, right? Yeah, so he'll get hit by the dive kick. And if I see him blocking the dive kick, I will switch to a regular jump and he won't be able to anti-air that.
Moving forward now, Potato in the corner now. Potato in serious trouble. Looks like this is going to be a stunning.
This is bad. One of the
Instant overhead.
scaling reset on the stun there. That's going to be really good damage. Is that enough? Is that enough? Yes?
I don't know. I think it might be enough. I think it might be enough, East. This could be the end of Potato. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, done. And that's it. SKZ taking it 3-0.
I watched a stream earlier, which was commenting on my match against Chuan in the grand finals. And I will not mention said stream, but in the grand finals, I won Chuan 6 rounds straight, right? Every step of the video, he was pausing the video and saying how bullshit some of my moves are. Like the heavy spin kick, for example, like I throw it out in neutral and I'm +2. I do it again and I'm +2 again. I do crouch medium punch and I cancel it into the spin kick and I'm +2 and I'm in for basically free. And he was saying like, what is this nonsense? And okay, I get that it's easy to say that you can interrupt the string in between because it's not a real string, right? That was one thing I initially thought that people were overestimating, the heavy spin kick, because there are actually ways to get around it if you interrupt it in the middle. Maybe it's not so easy, I guess. It takes a bit of practice.
They had the guy on the corner. Opt to go for the tandem booster. Just realized that.
Yeah, and that's an unfortunate back throw there. And look at that standing heavy punch. That's a huge crush counter. And look at the life. That's about 20% off that crush counter straight into the sweep. That is a big drop for SKZ. SKZ now with his own punishes, and he's got Chuan in the corner again.
Good 30% right there for SKZ. Guile off.
When I first started picking up Seth, I went with 1 and Xian went with 2, and he told me that V-Trigger 2 will have a brighter future for sure. Like V-Trigger 1 is simple and strong, but V-Trigger 2 definitely will surpass V-Trigger 1 in the end. And I told him that I believe V-Trigger 1 will always be better. And he called me the laziest person ever, because V-Trigger 1 is the simple and easy V-Trigger, and V-Trigger 2 is the one that actually requires you to put in effort to learn all the resets and the setups. And looking at V-Trigger 2 now, okay, so the biggest problem is that with V-Trigger 2, it's harder to mount a comeback. I wouldn't say extremely hard, but it's generally not as simple. Like with V-Trigger 1, you get 2 hits and you almost can get the stun already with V-Trigger 1. With 2, and if you are low on life and you activate it on block and they have a V-stop, your game is pretty much over there. But V-Trigger 2 does have some of its advantages. Let's say you want to close out around V-Trigger 2, it's really good. It's definitely better than V-Trigger 1. The chip sequences from like 15%, yeah, those are really strong as well.
Meter now, it's time for his time to shine.
Oh, that's gonna be good medium wake up here. One more touch will do it. Gotta be careful though. Here's the activation from SKZ. What do you do? Plus, yes, that was the heavy kick.
Okay, so let's start with V-Skill 1. Firstly, I think for V-Skill 1, we have to, I usually assess the quality of the V-Skill first. So, the V-Skill follow-up in V-Trigger 1. Okay, so for some characters, they cancel into the punch, and for some characters, they cancel into the spinning kick. Yeah, so the spinning kick variation is the one that can link into the super eventually, and the follow-ups. So immediately, just by having a V-Skill that is able to cancel into the V-Trigger 1, that's the spin kick, is definitely a strong V-Skill in my opinion. Most of them at least, like Bison Scissors Kick that cancels into the spin kicks. So it's like if I'm walking around in neutral and I suddenly randomly V-Skill out of nowhere and you're not blocking, and I can combo into super from that concept is very strong because it forces you to block a lot. V-Skill 1 is really good against characters that like to buffer. Let's say G, for example. G likes to buffer like stand-like kick into the EX smash over. He has to buffer the EX smash over, which ends in a forward motion. Anything within this frame will get caught by the V-Skill.
EX flash kicks. And he's opting for the zoning game now, trying to keep SKZ locked down. He knows SKZ hasn't been going through those Tatsus through the Sonic Booms, but a great frame check now from SKZ. He's trying to close it out as quickly as possible.
Oh, spins the bar there just for the extra cash. There's the shimmy though. This is gonna be good. Not enough to kill. One more touch to do it. How does he reset here?
Right, just goes for the straight damage with the DP. He doesn't need that much damage here. Great shimmy.
I think it depends a lot on the matchup. So for Minat, I don't play against much Minat, even though we have KOF Master in Malaysia, but I don't play with him very often. But sounds like the kind of character which I would pick V-Skill 2 in, because frankly, Minat's stand heavy punch, which is I believe the orb, the very long orb, yeah, it's longer than the range of the V-Skill 1 anyway. So about the same as Dalsim, I think. So yeah, for these kind of matches, I would try to get in as fast as possible. It doesn't really matter how I do it, but having V-Skill 2 really helps in getting in, because you have to look for the V-Skill 2 dash, you have to look for a jump. It's very hard to focus on everything. Because these characters focus on chipping you out slowly at the mid-range, the moment you get in, your chances of winning are a lot higher. For Birdie, it's a bit different. Okay, so Birdie's V-Skill 1, he throws the can on the floor or the banana, or he eats the hamburger. If I pick V-Skill 1, I have no solution to all these three options at all. But if I pick V-Skill 2, I can, on reaction, do the V-Skill 2 uppercut and punish it.
Just really good. He hasn't gone for that yet this entire, 3 games.
Oh, check the forward dash here at the beginning of the second round, the third round here. Again, guess wrong on the spin kick. What do you do?
Yeah, that's he might have to lay off trying to win.
Played Dota starting from 2012, and I played for. I'm still playing now actually, but I retired competitively in 2018 because the game got too hard. In the sense that competition is too high and commitment level is also way too high. So I know in Street Fighter, there are players that manage to juggle a full-time job, and they can also play Street Fighter at a high level. In Dota, there is no such thing. In Dota, it's either you commit to a team for a year and it works out, hopefully, and you get reward, or you get nothing. There's no part-time Dota player. It's either full-time or nothing if you want to actually win at the highest level.
Falling back, punishing the boosters forward. Oh, there it is. Yeah, this is where Tron wants to be. Oh,
here we
no.
go for SKZ. Can he activate into the critical art here? Here it is. I don't think this is going to be enough, Beast. I think Chuan's going to survive this.
He is in V-Trigger, so it does extra damage here. It actually might be enough. Let's see.
Ooh.
Not
Okay,
quite.
Chuan's still
But it
alive.
just has V-Trigger left.
He had the space there to wake up buttons. I don't believe it. All right, both players with a slip.
100% Dota is harder. There are players whom I up and rising. Okay, so by up and rising, I mean when I was still competitive in 2017, when I was gonna quit. And there are players who are in new teams that people didn't really know about beforehand. But these are players that have played Dota from the very beginning as well, and they have committed so much and worked their lives around Dota. And after years of work, they finally get a chance to shine at the top. There are such few players. Okay, so partially, yes, competition is high, and the second thing is you gotta get lucky in Dota to make it. There are several players whom are very talented at the game, but because they can't find a team, so they are unable to progress to the next level, because ultimately Dota is a team game. If things don't work out, it's usually very hard to justify to, let's say, your sponsor or even yourself that you should continue with this endeavor. That's why there are teams that break up like 2-3 months, they disband very, very quickly because they don't see the reward and they just want to move on to another team. But all the best teams have to grind it out together, you know. They have to stay together for at least a year or so, try to work things out, and most of the time they don't have time for that. In Dota, as a team game, you are definitely going to run into many issues with your teammates, especially if they don't perform up to your standards or you don't perform up to their standards. I agree, as for fighting games cause a single player, a lot of that mental stress and friction is gone in terms of like if you lose, you only have to blame yourself that you didn't practice hard enough. That's actually a lot of a bigger barrier than people think it is. Like, you have to place your faith in your teammates, but subconsciously sometimes you think it's their fault, and it creates a lot of friction. I guess I prefer Street Fighter overall eventually because it's a single player game.
The V-Trigger as well as he can, but he hasn't had as much V-Trigger success as Chuan has with his.
Yeah, I mean, here's the activation here from those. Like, he can potentially get something started. Ooh, EX on Wake Up, plus the damage from the V-Trigger is going to be good.
All right, ooh, no Wake Up EX flash kick from...
Okay, Xian once told me before that it is best to play fighting games with somebody that is around your level. If the skill gap is too high, the higher skill player is just gonna beat you up and you don't even know why you lost. So I think part of it is finding the correct partners to practice with, like partners that you feel like as a learning player you have a chance to win, and because the motivation of winning is what keeps a player going, right? If a person always loses, he's gonna get demoralized and it's very hard for him to justify why should I continue playing this game. Yeah, so okay, but I can see that it might be a problem because Street Fighter is generally smaller, as in the community of players who play. So it might be difficult to find a suitable match for somebody that's around your skill level in your community sometimes, which can be hindering to a player getting better. While in other games like Dota, because the player pool is so vast, so it's very easy to find somebody of your own caliber, and it's easier to track your own progress because you are actually learning something every game, which might not happen in fighting games if you do not have the correct partner.
Meter that round, so he had to make that comeback she had to make that, had to close that round somehow. And the throws were the way to do it. Already in the corner. Seth is tops, y'all, I'm telling you.
Yeah, alright. And Chuan, there he is, the familiar wake-up EX flash kick. He didn't go for it last time he was in the corner, but now he is going to go for it. And again, that's twice with the delayed buttons into critical art. SKZ playing brilliantly. That's going to tie it up at 2-2-es.
Is that enough? Let's see.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, it is. Wow.
Back in 2009, so that's Street Fighter 4 was released in 2008, right? So in 2009, we got our first Xbox console, and oh, is it? Oh yes, all right. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so back then, we were trying to find new games for us to play, and we came across Street Fighter 4. So my first Street Fighter game, and when I mean first, I mean I just mashed the buttons and watched the characters on the screens do their work. I remember from that game, I remember Sagat. So Sagat was the first character I picked in Street Fighter 4. And my brother remembers Bison, so the first character he picked was Bison. And we soon after that we found out that the game was in the arcades as well, and we started heading down to arcades and to start playing. And for the first year or so, it was difficult to learn because we are new to fighting games and we were competing with players who have played before, like many years of experience. But somehow we stuck through all of that, and here we are, I guess.
All right, yeah, just gonna try and push him to the corner again, yeah. And then two sequences,
again, going
already
for those
there.
delayed buttons on wake up. He seems to have sniffed out I Am Chuan's delayed tech timing. Oh, great shimmy. This could be all over for Chuan now. Oh, and just a straight flash kick.
The flash kicks from Chuan. No meter on that one either,
and again,
again.
No fly zone. You can't axe kick me for free.
That was Air Force, right?
Yeah,
tries to sniff out. Tries to sniff out with the down forward heavy kick. There it is, though. The spin kick straight into the super. How much is this gonna do?
Is this gonna be enough to kill? Yes, there it is. And
oh my god, really?
Answers back with a straight 2-round win.
Since I've qualified, I'll definitely be more motivated to train hopefully I can get some good practice with players from overseas, because there's some character representation that is not found in Singapore. No Rashids, no Chuns, no Gives, no character diversity here. There's character diversity, but there are some characters that can give problems that we do not have representation here. So I'll hope that I can get practice for some of those characters.
For V-Trigger 1, if you guys have been paying attention to Sako, the guy's also been running some crazy V-Trigger 2 stuff, which might take the character over the edge.
Dominating performance here from round 1 of SKZ. I mean, are we going to see a 3-0 here in grand final with set? Chuan sniffs out the overhead, seriously in trouble here now. He needs to activate if he wants to stay alive.
He's got to do something here. Oh my god, the spin kick, you're going to get to the...
I won't enter the next tournament because the only reason why I'll enter the next tournament is to gatekeep another player, which I don't want to go, right? Okay, so because the C region is so small in terms of the player base, everybody kind of knows each other. So it's not good to make somebody your enemy, especially if that person plays a character at a high level that you might want to practice against. So yeah, I don't think I will want to gatekeep anybody, so I'll let whoever can win the second slot go for it.
Round that SKZ has taken.
Chuan's waking up here, I like this. You know, he started to anti-air. An activation here for SKZ though, gotta be careful, gets the corner. There's the extra damage as well.
And this is a familiar scene. This is where Chana struggled against
Throw.
Set. 2 throws.
Throw.
We're gonna see a third. Tries
Not
to
like this,
French up with
please.
the crouching medium kick.
Activation, here we go.
Chuan
Yo,
fighting for his
SKZ's
life
back
here.
dash 4 times out of that.
Oh, and that's
No!
going to cost him a lot. Straight into the critical art. That is it. SKZ is through to the Capcom Cup. Singapore is through to the Capcom Cup. SKZ has done it 3 straight rounds in the grand final.
Okay, so for the 3v3 for Sako, the team comprised of Sako, Kindebu, and Momochi. I'm hoping they do well. Hopefully they'll get first. I mean, I hope that Seth doesn't get nerfed, honestly, but if they get first, that means that they did something right. And I love it when somebody does something right with my character, because that's something I can learn. I actually hope they will show me something new, because this character, I believe, still has a lot of potential, and it is great to see if I could see somebody show me something that nobody has done so far. Okay, it doesn't really have to be something specific, maybe like a concept of how to play against a certain character, or like positions where you need to save your V reversal instead of spending it on your V trigger, or their usage of dive kicks, spin kicks, and yeah, that would be interesting to watch.
As I said, a wonderful young man with a great attitude towards competitive gaming.
Fascinating kid.
And really interesting insight. Talking about the difference between, and I've never really thought about this. We all look at team esports, and you think for the beginner, like psychologically, you have sort of the room to hide from your losses, right? You can kind of mitigate your losses by blaming your teammates, and when you win, you can maybe claim a bit more glory than your, I did that. And psychologically, maybe that might be just enough to keep you pushing on and improving.
You definitely get one-man shows occasionally on things like Dota.
But he made a really good point in that when you reach that high level and you're not kidding yourself anymore, it's really hard to find that team synergy and keep the team morale and the politics together. And if any of that breaks down, the team doesn't work. Whereas when you're playing fighting games, it's just you. You only have to worry about yourself. So if you lose, as he said, if I lose, I know I haven't trained enough, or I don't know this matchup well enough, and it's only me. I don't have to look at anyone else and worry about the performance of anyone else. So I guess at a competitive level, that's got to be quite liberating.
Oh, big time. Yeah, I've already thought and discussed loads about this on previous shows I've done. It's that challenge of finding the synergy, and not only the synergy. Let's say you have that synergy between you and your teammates, or you and a particular person. I don't know if he's a carrier or whatever role he plays in Dota, but let's say you have that synergy between yourself and your teammates. What do you have it on the day? You might be on form on the day. This happens in football as well. I played a lot of football in my life, and you're on form on the day. You played a perfect assist, but your striker, he's not on form, and he doesn't even control the ball.
Can't hit the side of a barn today.
No one remembers that assist though. No one remembers that you split that defense with that pass. This is really
that ain't
important.
an assist unless the ball goes in the net.
Exactly. It didn't happen. So you're wholly dependent on you being good, but also your teammates being good on the day, and it's a massive strain. I'll tell you one thing about me personally. I've said this before, and those of you who don't know about it with me. My worst performances, even worse than Daigo on stage at Evo, which he doesn't let me live down. My worst performances when I was a high level player in Street Fighter were always in team tournaments. And it wasn't nothing to do with synergy, because in Street Fighter you're still individual play. But for me, having other people kind of relying on me to perform messed me up, man. I just couldn't. It made me play so bad, you know. And that's another thing to consider: the psychological pressure of playing in a team where it's not just you who's responsible for the success. You're also carrying all these people as well.
To use you as an example again, when professional sponsorships were just starting to come in around about 2011, 2012, joining, was it Western Wolves? I think was the first one. Yeah. And, for the very first time, you're dealing with the pressure of a team manager expecting results.
Oh, no, that wasn't Western Wolves were great. This is VYE they were called, and if you're out there, I think his name was Andy. Screw you, man. You're the worst manager I ever had. Visualize your enmity.
That's just a small example of the pressure that is on you to perform for an organisation.
Mate, I literally got to top 8, and I had to play Andreas, my teammate, guy I play every week, right? And I said, and he phoned me up and said, "How's it going? I've got to top 8. All right, what's happening next? I've got to play Andreas. You can't lose. You have to win that match. It's my first tournament as a sponsored player. Okay, I'm going to do my best. Listen, mate, we've paid for you to get there. We've covered your hotel. You can't lose, all right? You've got to win that match." After hearing that, Andreas completely battered me. I was like, my hands were shaking all over the place. That's not how you manage a player. But I mean, each to their own. I just thought
obviously that's not something that's unique to that happens across esports now, because we're all beholden. But it's just a show of how that pressure works, and the expectation on more than other people's. Whereas when it's just you in a solo, you don't have to worry about a teammate performing. You don't have to worry. It's literally just you. You're the master of your own destiny. One of the other really good points he made is, especially now with how the CPT is put together and everything's open bracket all around the world. It's still all open bracket for Capcom Pro Tour anyway, at least. If you've got the skills, you can show up and you can represent yourself and you can get noticed. If you've got the skills in Dota, you've got to find yourself a team that also has the skills. Yeah. Because not everyone's getting picked up. There's limited number of spots, and to be able to find the synergy to get the results, there's people out there scouting and what have you, but it's a lot harder to get noticed.
Yeah.
If you're like a good player on an underperforming team, unless there's a massive disparity in your talent level and the performances, it's difficult as well. You've got to find that.
And that area that you might be good at might just be the area they're not looking for. We're not looking for someone who plays that particular role, because there's all these different roles in Dota as well. So
exactly. I just found that really fascinating, that insight. You don't really get that. There's not a lot of people that can go, yeah, well, this is my experience at a high competitive level in this esport. And I don't even want to get into what's mechanically more difficult to play and learn.
Because that's not the discussion. That's a whole different...
That's whatever. But it's interesting to have that insight in terms of the functionality and logistics of performing at an elite level in different games. It's just something different to think about.
One thing that's absolutely certain, though, without getting into that debate, is the skills are transferable. There are a number of those skills, team or solo, that are clearly transferable. And being able to play at your highest and maintain composure the way he did in that grand final, to go 6-0 against probably the best online performer in the SEA
in the last couple of years,
just obliterate him like that says a lot for an 18. Did you say he's 18 years old?
I don't know how old he is. I can't remember.
I mean, he looks young.
He's in his 20s.
He looks young. So yeah, I mean, that's just crazy. Very impressive.
But yeah, he's only been competing in Street Fighter 5 since 2018 in terms of organised tournaments. So not a lot of experience. Cien and Chuan.
Yeah, man.
Again, it's kind of that same situation of Big Bird and Angry Bird.
Big Bird and Angry Bird,
you can only get one. Cien's still got to be the favourite to get through. I still have faith. I still believe.
Well, I think he's in a good position now. He's got the blueprint now, hasn't he? So if he does come across Sean, I'll be shocked if he picks Ibuki.
Boy, if Sean's not going to spend the next few months
too, actually, true.
rinsing that match
True.
You know what I mean?
It's not free. definitely not
Because
free.
boy, he knows he's all right in the Ibuki matchup. He's won that. He's okay. It's going to be very interesting when we come back round, and after a couple of months, when we start seeing the second, we'll actually have form. We'll have kind of rivalries and head-to-heads to talk about.
Yep.
I can start. What I really want to do is I want to start digging into CFN and looking and pulling up head-to-head
What they've
records.
been doing, right? Yes,
How
mate.
they've been playing.
Love
How
it.
they've been playing against other characters.
Some of that, mate.
I
Yeah,
wanna
what's your
pull the
win rate
stats
against
up.
this character?
Yeah,
let's get MQS
because
on it.
that's
He
the
does
thing,
tons of
right?
that, doesn't he?
That's the thing, right? That's really hard to do. Outside, God bless you, Glenn, at the Game 2K for archiving all the top 8 results. Amazing, but there's so many more matches.
What's your win rate?
It's such a
versus Seth?
small sample size, right? In tournament and all these, everything's online. It's all online.
It's all there, yeah.
So if I can have a look at how you do in your entire CFN history against Seth, against Gal, against Ibuki, against Chuan, against Cien, what's the head-to-head? We can start really pulling some numbers, and I think,
and it matters even more because the actual match is going to be online.
Exactly, because normally I'm not. How you do online, I'm not going to take that as gospel for an offline tournament because it's not the same, and you're not going to play the same. It's all the same now.
It is the same now.
It's all the same.
But that's the one challenge, though. If we go back to SKZ for just 1 second, that's what I meant to mention. The challenge now for him is I don't know if his Dota career got him exposure to this, but it's that offline performance because the way he performed online, like incredible, like not phased at all. Like he's been to grand finals regularly all his life, right? Can he play like that in an offline environment? Because I believe the Capcom finals will be offline.
Yeah, they will be.
So that's going to be the interesting thing. I hope he's able to maintain.
I believe held in February. I'm not sure. I don't think it's been
February
confirmed.
right now? Not confirmed yet, I know, but
I don't know why that's in my brain.
February.
I think I just
Something you might know that you're not supposed to say. Let's edit that part out, guys. Yeah, just in case it's
I
not
don't know
official
anything.
yet.
I've literally been told. I've been asking every week if I can find out what the characters are. I just want to know. I want to know, but they won't spoil Christmas for me. I want to know. Just I just want Dudley.
A lot of trolls online as well.
Can
hitting
I have
us up.
Dudley, please?
Well, after what you asked for from Dudley, I think he's out of the question, mate. Yeah, you're +5, +1 on block meaty. Get out of here with that, man.
Love it.
Hell no.
Let's move on anyway. Talking about online, everything's online right now. Obviously, Capcom Pro Tour is flying ahead. We're into our second month now of the CPT online. But there's been other events going on as well. We've got EVO to look forward to over the next couple of weeks. EVO online. But we just had CEO online.
We did CEO online just this weekend. A lot of people missed that, man. That happened.
Yeah.
Some great games, some great results as well.
I mean, we got to do top 8 Street Fighter 5 last year, which is a fantastic experience for me. I loved that. I got to commentate the wrestling and the top 8 with my buddy.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
I got to put my son on the stream as well, which was nice. Little surprise. New arrival to the world, got his first taste of the FGC. So we went down to Daytona. It was right.
Yeah.
Spent a week in Orlando beforehand as well. Man, CEO was awesome. Loved it.
Lovely experience. But yeah, this weekend it was an online experience, and they did retrospective as well. Looking back, not so much some of the highlight matches. Of course, there were some tremendous highlights of CEO. It's really set the pace when it comes to presentation of fighting game events.
Yeah, it really has, yeah.
As big as some events are in terms of how they've just innovated the grandiose scale of the fighting game
Number of
community,
attendees, number of players.
I think CEO has really been at the forefront of just showcasing the personality,
the experience,
and all the characters and all the stuff that I think make fighting games great in the world of competitive gaming and esports. You don't get enough of that in other esports, and I think that's something that really makes fighting games such a joy to be involved with. And a lot of esports broadcast organizations have said that, we love fighting games. They're just so much fun. The players have got so much personality.
Random celebrities turn up in cosplay, at all these events as well. It's a really unique kind of environment and experience. And I think CEO really captivates that because I haven't been to CEO until last year, right? I've been trying to go as a player for a long time, and everyone told me this is one of the most unique fighting game tournament. It's not like your standard fighting game tournament that you would experience. And I got there, experienced it, and thought, damn, that's incredible, So
because you get a bit of everything, right? You get the arena experience that you get at maybe an Evo, but you get the arcade experience. I've got the arcade there late night. You've got the big ballroom experience as well. They've brought in the wrestling now for the last 2 years, which has been super fun. shout out to Fighter Fest that's going on right now in AEW. First week was yesterday, and they're gonna have another one next week on Wednesday night as well. So big up all my crew at AEW. Shout out to Kenny. Hope you're well. It's just fun, and shout out to Jabali and the team because they've been working really hard to build that up. He's been diversifying. He set up a number of. I mean, he was able to get Dreamland off this year, which is their Smash centric event, literally on the cusp of shutdowns and lockdowns and stuff. I know he was very, very stressed out about having to cancel CEO, but he didn't cancel it. It's postponed to December.
Yeah.
Who knows whether that will happen, because right now the numbers in Florida are crazy. And, hoping that everyone's safe and those numbers start to come down and we're able to get back to things again. But who knows what December's going to look like. We had the pleasure of speaking to Mr. Alex Jabali himself.
The one and only.
He's going to go through, the cool things about the history of CEO, his involvement in the Florida community, and his love and passion for Street Fighter 4, which was the main event of the weekend. I think.
Of course. Yeah,
for Street Fighter 4
guy. Plays an incredible boxer.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. He's boxer.
He made top 8.
Yeah, I know he made top 8. He hasn't stopped playing. That's why. No, his boxer's all right, actually, to be fair.
Yeah, he can still do like short jab, 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 headbutt, ultra. Sick. Great play. Let's get to this. Love Jabali every time. Take it away, sir.
This year, obviously, COVID-19 had hit, and the first weekend it became official that things started to shut down was when I was running CEO Dreamland. And that was probably the most stressful week of my life. I wasn't able to financially shut it down in the hotel, be like, yeah, you're fine, because nothing was formally shut down. There was only 5 to 10 cases in Florida at the time. So obviously, this pandemic is starting, and I'm like, shit, CEO, my biggest events of the year. This is going to be the 11th year. It was going to return home. I was going to go back to the basics of community first, tournaments, and focus on all the pro tours that we've been partnering up with. And I didn't know what to expect. I talked to the hotel, like, well, things are shutting down and stuff. So if you want to postpone it first to make it financially easier for us to deal with it, and just postpone and give it a shot to see if it can happen. I'm like, well, let me try December. I think December would be a good time. At the time, I didn't know any pro tours were canceling or anything. I just focused on my event and my event alone. I've worked with them for 10 years at the Wyndham in Orlando. They basically canceled everyone's hotel without issue and let everyone rebook for December. And now 3 months later, still worried for December. Things haven't gotten better. There's no vaccine or anything that people are even talking about being a thing. So I play it day by day, but it's stressful as a TO. It sucks for all of us. We never in a million years saw something like this coming. This is our livelihood for a lot of people. I'm fortunate to work full-time for DreamHack to supplement my income. We've been moving to online stuff there. And now just play day by day. And if things don't happen this year, hopefully next year we can bounce back stronger than ever. Because I think everyone's waiting so much to play again and go to an event that next year is going to be huge for all of us.
I think DC after the slide. What's that new caught the teleport.
Pretty cool right now.
Oh, will it count? Yes, it does. There's the neutral jump. Funk, the man's got the drift. He knows how to this is cool. I don't care that he's needed to escape.
Because of the cancellation of CEO, as this original weekend came up, I was wondering what can I do in supplement of the event. I didn't want to just say no, not do anything, and cry about it and be like, there's no event. So I was like, let me try something online. And I had inspiration from Combo Breaker, my friend Richard Thayer. He did a retrospective and he took a look back at all their favorite matches. I've had CEO around for a few more years longer than him, so I wanted to take a look back at the event itself and the people behind it and how everything came to be and the history and the stories. What I wanted to do was I just want to talk about the past 10 years, talk about how everything came to be. A lot of new TOs in the industry now. I want to inspire people to take what I did from nothing and build it into something special for the community. And then I was like, I need to do some online tournaments as well. But with an online tournament, you can't really charge people to play, right? But I want to do something fun and engaging for mostly the Southeast, because if it wasn't for the states of Florida, Alabama, Georgia, CO wouldn't exist. They were the first main states to promote and come to CO 2010. So I wanted to go back to basics, and I chose Street Fighter 4, Ultra Street Fighter 4, because if it wasn't for that game, CO wouldn't exist. I was very competitive in it. I used, money from tournaments, locals to put back into the other local events I was hosting before CO was a thing. And then Tong Lee from Tampa Never Sleeps has been doing Marvel on Parsec, which is a very impressive system, because that was another huge game that made CEO as special as it was with the early matches with Tokido and Phoenix and Justin Wong, you know, at the second CEO, because I didn't want to do like Street Fighter 5 because we have the Capcom online events happening and I didn't want to take away from that. And Street Fighter 4 had the biggest turnout. We had 49 entrants because it was region locked and it was fun.
Has been responding to, so you saw the success so far. But now, finding our way back in. My goodness, damage
Counter hit, low flush, full showcase by Neon. Now Neon's chasing a little bit, so.
Dude, your Uno analogy took different shape here. The reverse is out. The wild draw 4 be damned.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely more of a reverse than a draw 4. Oh, what corner pressure. Neon has to engage the bearings, has to get that soul spiral out there. Oh, it's only not going to be able to get another one afterward. Oh no, but reacts poorly, gets a fireball, and the EXDP! Solid gets the backdash with the second hit!
And at first, I was just going to do a tournament online and then just talk about CEO, pull stuff together. I was like, you know what, let's kind of have the vibe of CEO. And I had the players that made top 4s on Sunday record their own entrances out of their houses and stuff. And they're actually pretty interesting. I was really impressed. That was fun. And when I started streaming, I didn't have goals. I didn't want to have I wasn't thinking 20,000 viewers are going to tune in or anything like that. I wanted the people that helped me build this community and this event to come. And we had a lot of OGs I haven't heard from in years just pop into the stream and we're reminiscing with the pictures. So it was an awesome feeling. I genuinely enjoyed doing an online aspect. Will it replace offline? No way in hell. But when you have something that's fun, you don't have a lot at stake, people will take more pride in just playing to have a good time. Because the moment you throw in like huge prizes online, there's going to be so much stress and worries of lag. That wasn't fair. But I kept it simple, you know, like $250 in prizing. Astro was a huge part of why this event went on. Actually, they supplemented a lot of prizing and giveaways. Red Bull was huge behind the scenes as always. We teamed up. They let me ship out a can plus a thank you note and sticker to everyone that registered for the online tournament, which went over well. People were very appreciative of that. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Like, this was my first official online CEO event. I want to start organically, slow. I don't want to throw tons of money at it and then regret anything. I want to start something small that, you know, turned into something special. And I had fun. The people in the chat had fun. I gained the most subs in a day I've ever gamed in my life. So that really motivated me to keep doing this and in other ways. Do it again in the future. Hope I never have to replace the actual CEO again with an online event, but it was fun. I had a great time.
That's true. Only Psycho Crusher is one that breaks.
TP! My man going champion edition up in this.
Oh, he
Catch! Caught him again! Double dipped. 10 seconds left. Fox still has a life lead.
Going back to CEO Online, I chose Ultra Street Fighter 4 because Street Fighter 4 has always been my best competitive game. Behind that would be actually Capcom vs. SNK 2, another Capcom game. In Capcom vs. SNK 2, I tell everybody, if it wasn't for that game, I would not exist in the FGC. I would not have met the mentors I had at the time, like an Alex Navarro, Arturo Sanchez, Ricky Ortiz back in the day. And then Trent Van Devin was my very first Street Fighter mentor that taught me how to play that game professionally and go to tournaments. And this is like 2002, 2003. And that built my presence within the local community. I was hosting tournaments at, my college, and then took a break. I went into TCGs, Versus System, DDR. I played a lot. I loved playing anything competitive, meeting people, growing communities and stuff. And then Street Fighter 4 came out, and it was incredible, right? This huge boom, and I really credit the early Street Fighter 4 boom to that GameStop tournament they did. I actually made it to the third round. And ended up having to use like a broken Xbox 360 controller, and that's why I lost. And like, oh, sorry. I'm like, whatever, dude. And Trent, actually my mentor from the early days, went on to the finals to play like with Daigo and all those guys when they did the GameStop finals. But if it wasn't for that game, I would not have gotten into it competitively.
We start calling Solid Galaxy.
Yeah, we're using this guy after the DP like, I had a warrant.
Oh, there we go. Oh, no, but misses the Ultra 1. That would have happened if he misses the dash up. And there we go.
He still has it.
Throws it up. The corner carry strong enough. Daigo shit.
And then when Street Fighter 4 came out, I started just hosting locals and competing and getting competitive. And it was like bringing the old band back together, right? All the old guys were back in the SRK forums in the Southeast region, like, hey, who's playing Street Fighter 4? And at the time, before CO was a thing, I was hosting locals in my own house with like 30 to 40 people. And the only game we were playing was Street Fighter 4. We would have like 8 setups all over my living room. and just hammering away at Street Fighter 4, and it was so addicting and fun, and that game brought everyone together. The first major tournament I went was a final round, actually, where I ended up getting 17th place. I think it was 2009, the first year they had held it, and they had like a 256-man full bracket. Justin Wong was there. That's when I became friends with him, and just had so much fun learning. And if it wasn't going to like final rounds, I would not have gotten that out-of-state practice to get better. Then I went to an EVO one year, and what I'll never forget, put me on the map, me versus Ricky Ortiz in our pool, and I sent her to losers bracket. And all I remember after that match was Trent was there mentoring me, and I switched to Ryu against Rufus at the time because it was better than my Balrog, actually, before I switched to Balrog full-time. And all I remember was Jason Cole behind me with a notepad going, "What's your name?" Like taking notes. I'm like, "I'm Alex Jabali, Google my name," because that is still my Xbox and PlayStation tag. So he interviewed me for a little bit, and then I ended up losing. I forget his name, but he made top 8. Ricky still made it out and made top 8 from the loser side. So that was a crazy experience for me. That was my first official Evo, and that just kind of built my name. And I was a part of, they had like a regional 5v5. I was on Team Florida or Team Southeast with Jibbo, the big SFXT player, and everybody else, and PR Rog. So PR Rog was a huge inspiration to me. Flash Metroid, we grew up playing DDR and CVS2 back in the earlier days, and just snowballed from there, right?
Throwing them DPs in his face like, hey, I heard this was an online tournament.
It's so spicy. Look at these DPs.
You don't care if it's a punish, if it's on the offense, if it's focus, DP, dash up DP.
Every DC again. Oh, keep it coming. What's up?
Like, dude, it's like the Chipotle lady's like, yo, that guac is extra. He's like, I don't care, 4 burritos of it, all of it.
The incredible stories, my favorite ones are the people that came together, right? It always comes back to these amazing Street Fighter friends. CJ Truth started out at a CO local where his dad came up to me. It was a tournament I had won, and he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, my son, he's young, he's really interested. Would you mind just playing a few?" I'm like, "Of course." Played a few matches with him, and if you notice, CJ Truth never jumps, and he always anti-airs, because the first couple matches, I was like, "Stop jumping." I would yell at him to stop jumping at my Balrog, and he learned real quick, like a sponge. And a couple years later, he's starting to beat me, he's starting to beat people. So, you know, just. And then Knuckle Dew came around to the Tampa events, and he came to an Orlando one where I beat him, and I was like, this kid's good. He's going to be huge one day. And so seeing CJ and Dew just go to other events, practice up, our local Florida community was so helpful. But a lot of us didn't travel. It was mostly like a small handful that would leave outside of final round to go to other events and compete. But CJ Truth, Knuckle Dew just always wanted to get better. You had Booker, Bison player, that was great. Brian F was starting to come up. We always had our mirror matches with Balrog and stuff in the early days, but just Street Fighter 4, man, all those tournaments from all those locals are what made what CO is today. If it wasn't for that game, I don't think CO or I would be talking to you right now.
All right, be safe. Don't fall in. Nice Tatsu, keeping him into the corner.
Low profile. Oh, he's trying to do that coward scratch underneath it. At that time it worked.
Street Fighter 4, huge part of my life. Again, CVS2 started it all, but Street Fighter 4, I think, pound for pound, is one of the best fighting games ever made. In terms of just variety, and like you look at the later half, besides or later years of it before Street Fighter 5 came out, besides Elena taking over, well-balanced game. You know, each update got better. You know, the Yin and Yang twins were overpowered when they first came out, and then they got better. So that, I think, was the pinnacle of the perfect patching system. Every like 6 months to a year, you were waiting for it. It wasn't consistent patching to kind of throw everyone off their game, and that's why we're here today.
Round start solar plexus.
Oh, look at it! He caught the dash with the low fierce into it. Then the EX. I'll use it, Zane.
This man's
That's the throw.
He got the stun. Is this a perfect? Is the golden letters? First in the screen? Ah, there it is. Oh.
Yeah, so the tournament itself, right? We ran Street Fighter 4 and a Hakan one. ML Swear 3 was the name. I actually never heard of that name before. I'm sure I did, but a lot of us don't really talk about Street Fighter 4 anymore, except just the big names and the locals. But we had a 49 entrant tournament. I entered as well because I entered the first, live CEO, so why not do the online? I ended up in 7th place. Barely lost to a good player, Seth player with Jay Campos. And then I forget the other person who beat me, but Nobody above me, but you know, I wanted to get up there and be in my own finals, and we had people make entrance videos and stuff. But the Hakan, I ended up being a Shin Jabali boss after the tournament for an extra $100. He destroyed me. Balrog's a bad matchup. Then I switched to Fei Long, and each round came to the final hit for both of us. So I should have started off with Fei Long in the beginning, but his Hakan was amazing, and we did this on PS4. It's not known for having the best internet, but we only had one hiccup, I think, the whole tournament. Where it just kicked me out randomly out of the lobby between matches, luckily. But it was smooth sailing. The lobby is still consistent. I wish more people did team battle mode, but overall, I think the tournament was fun. We ran the 49 people on Saturday. It took about 3 hours tops. And then Sunday was about an hour and 15 minutes of the final 4. But it was fun to see Street Fighter 4. And again, the chat was full of like Ultra David popped in, Brian F. A lot of the old school people were popping in that love Street Fighter 4. And Hakan win was pretty cool, right? That's awesome, and he was killing it with Hakan. I was very impressed. Hakan is a sleeper hit character, man. He still if more people picked him or figured out his ways back in the day, especially starting the round with oil when they patched that in, he could have gone a lot farther. But it was fun. Again, the community loved it. We had 2 local commentators. We're commentating. Team Chris, great guy, commentating along with Ian. You know, I would love to do it again. I think Street Fighter 4 still has its cool fan base, and seeing Null DC pop out recently with like CVS2 online and all these other ways of playing these games, and everyone's home, so this is our chance to practice up, play online as much as possible. And before the tournament, I went on Street Fighter 4 PS4 lobbies, and I was able to find matches consistently for, you know, a 10-year-old 11-year-old game now. So you know, Street Fighter 4 still one of the best games ever made.
Okay, wrong player I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Oh, and Hugo. Yeah, his Hugo.
Oh, facts. You're right.
Yeah, because Hugo has a stronger 50-50.
Now that, you know, CO Online's behind me, and I have that experience of producing it and putting it together and seeing the fun people had just being in that Twitch chat, and it felt like community, right? But online, but the best we could bring people together. Next up, you know, DreamHack, we're going to be doing online weekly stuff with them called Community Clash. EVO Online's coming up. I actually entered Killer Instincts because I would love to, you know, be a part of the first official EVO Online and see how everything runs as a player. And you know, online tournaments, they can work. It'll never replace the offline feeling, but we got to keep ourselves entertained and have a good time. And
Thanks to interrupt.
Yeah, real good. Now, to Solid's credit, he's checking the movement of low forward.
Yeah, the meter lead was in. Swear's advantage. That was last hit and slides to the legs.
Check it out. He's trying to check the movement. He's trying to stop him from slipping.
Oh, nice follow through it.
But again, got it.
But I think a lot of people now, it's the time to get your names out there through streaming and entertaining and having a good time and building content, because you're never, as a TO personally, I'm never going to get this kind of break or reset again from the travel and running consistent events. I ran, I think, like 13 major events last year. It was nonstop, and I was getting burnt out as an organizer. But until then, take the break, get healthy. You know, I've been able to consistently work out again without having to travel all the time, and just build content at home, have fun. If you don't have fun streaming and all that, you can't force yourself to do it. But the moment you get into streaming, and like, it's not the subs that like encourage you, it's a huge help. But just seeing people interact with you and then come in, like the moment you go online and then you see a person that's always there, just like, hey, what's up? And you feel like friends. That's a great motivator to keep doing it consistently and have a good time. And little things like that, you know, again, it's a great break for the community to take advantage of, get your name out there, create content, and just have fun playing online. So thank you to all the developers that made these games with online, whether they're the best or not. To still be able to communicate. And Discord is blowing up, man. Discord is an incredible resource for streaming, sharing your screen. They really nailed it for the gaming side of you know, community aspects. So, and once things return to normal, you know, we can start talking about who's the better character, top tiers, you know, stuff like that, events, how well they run and stuff. And I just think these online tournaments and reminiscing really get people engaged, and it makes us sad to think what it could have been. But it also makes us happy that it reminds us of what got us here to this point, and it carries it forward.
He's been dropping that forward link to get the EX and costing himself meter.
He's got Ultra 2 on deck, though.
Back dash, jumps over it, and he focuses.
Mom
Did it! He does it! He does the challenge Ultra 2! My God, that's what a way to finish it by ML Square.
You can have ADC into that. I mean, the motion for that.
Love to Jabali every single time. Big up the CEO crew down there in Florida. Hopefully, we get to see you all again in December. That's what we're hoping for. But yeah, everyone down there, stay safe out there in America, across the whole country. Love from over here in the old UK. Good old Blighty. Please stay safe and make sure when you're out, wear a mask.
Wear a mask. It's
Wear a
not going to
mask.
cost you too much, people.
We don't have to wear a mask because thankfully our numbers are quite low.
Yeah, we've
Wear
done
a
all right. Done better than you guys. You guys can step it up a bit.
But wear a mask.
Put a mask on.
Please. We are distanced though, of course.
Yeah, of course. Standard, mate.
It's all good. Yeah, Hakan winning Ultra Street Fighter 4. What do you think about that?
That was my Hakan impression. I'm not surprised. You know, listen. Since Street Fighter 4's not been a mainstream game, since then, in all the like unofficial tournaments you're seeing, it's always some kind of obscure like characters.
Those character specialists that love it. Still.
Exactly, and they're still strong characters, right? You know, the Hugos, the El Fuertes, the Capris. The games continue to evolve, by the way, for those who've continued playing it. There's still things that we're seeing now that could have evolved if the game was still the main game. And honestly, I know you're going to disagree with me, but I still think Hakan is arguably the best character in the game when he's got that oil on his body. He breaks the game.
You all right, mate?
He breaks the game, mate.
Can we get a test for
mate,
this guy?
are you
He's clearly
serious?
unwell.
You can't do anything to him when he's got that thing. It's just broken. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Like, you can cancel dashes, you can cancel normals. Anything you do, like, you know, is a risk. And then he puts you in a stupid vortex of his. I honestly think Hakan, if the game had been allowed to continue further, I could have seen Hakan winning a major tournament.
I definitely think Hakan was a character that needed a lot of time and gifted players to put effort in to the character. And yeah, in Ultra, starting up oiled was a big deal because the character's kind of whack. When he's not oiled up, he's definitely kind of
very,
whack.
very, very abusable. When he's
But
not oiled up.
I don't know, man. That game had Seth in it. That game had Eleanor in it. That game had the Capri in it. It still had Yun and C Viper in it. It still had Fei Long in it.
Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, you're changing my mind when you mention all those cancerous
But I definitely
characters.
think he's up there, though.
Yeah, with oil, he
Yeah.
competes with everyone.
He's up there.
But yeah, the fact that his oil actually runs out,
Yeah.
and those guys are just complete.
And I don't care if you're oiled up if I tandem engine you in. And...
Yeah, and those guys are pieces of crap without oil for the whole round. You know, so yeah. You kill. Actually, I concede that one. Probably not the best. I'm just being salty from losing to a few Hakans in tournaments, I imagine. But
I remember the one in Enfield. What was the Hakan that came down?
Scottish guy.
Yeah.
Oh, what was his name again?
Because that wasn't even Ultra yet.
No, and he was doing things.
Yeah.
Early.
Because you were letting him oil up, and you didn't realise.
But I bust his head. I didn't lose. I was in the grand finals for that. It was me versus Andreas. See, that's what you get for trying to call out the F-My stuff.
Did you lose to Andreas?
Yeah, I lost to Andreas. But it was qualification for Shadow of the Showdown. Yeah. And it was top 2 qualified. So I kind of let Andreas win. You know what I mean? It's my boy, innit?
And you were going and
he didn't outplay me.
Commentate in that as well.
I wasn't taking dive kicks. Yes, I was. Anyway, it's really great to see Street Fighter 4 in the front line again. I've got infinite love for the game, great memories, and fascinating to see how good some of these guys still are at this bloody game. They haven't stopped, and we got a set coming up of Infiltration versus Punko in the first of 10 coming up in Street Fighter 4.
I think that's already happened.
Did it happen? I must have missed it.
And you know, there's events that are still running it. We've got one here, Bracket Reset Online.
Yeah,
They're
of
still
course,
running
Bracket
it here.
Reset.
People are still showing love for the game. A lot of people have a lot of love for that game. It means so much to a lot of people because it was a lot of people's entry point into, you know, rather than just mucking around with fighting games and not know what you're doing. That was definitely a gateway into taking fighting games seriously. I would not be here if it wasn't for Street Fighter 4.
No, absolutely. And I think a lot of the sponsors would not be here if it wasn't for Street Fighter 4. I think Capcom and that combination did a great job of elevating Street Fighter to a competitive, viable option. Still in a small percentage, but, you know, a viable option of lifestyle or mixed careers like the 801 Striders with you know, professional fighting game player, but also a working man.
Still working, yeah.
That exists now. Probably a lot of contribution because of Street Fighter 4. So yeah, always infinite love for the game.
Definitely, man. Talking of other online events as well, we can look forward to EVO. I think EVO kicks off this weekend, I believe. They're going to be running online events for some of the games that have the better netcodes out there, but also they're going to be running some international exhibitions in all of the regions. So you'll get, you know, US East Coast, US West Coast. We've got a Europe West, Europe East, across in Asia as well, I believe. So there's going to be sort of exhibition tournaments that are going to be happening for Street Fighter 5.
Super interesting format they've gone with this year, isn't it?
Yeah, what do you think about these like super majors and big major brands just giving us something? Because you were saying before, the absence of, there's loads of community events, there's loads of weeklies, but like there's not a lot on the line, and you always feel like, oh well, if I lose this week, I'll come back next week. It's fine. Yeah. Having something on the line, especially when in your region you're only going to get 2 events on Pro Tour. How important is it to have something significant on the line, like real prize money? It's not obviously going to be astronomical, but more than the few $100 that you can
on your weeklies
pick up on a good weekly as well. Now, how important do you think that is for these players out there to have events that there's really something to play for?
Oh, I think it's super important. I think I couldn't agree more with the organisations deciding not to just take the year off and to find a way to give us something, and to also make it attractive and appealing enough with enough on the line for the players to actually take it very seriously. So CEO, Evo, fantastic idea. They're still gonna have all the best names, kind of like covering it. And myself and you will try to get to cover where we can. All the best players enter in to make it feel as Evo-like as we can as well. And it still carries that prestigious title, even though it's online. It still carries that prestigious title. In addition to that, it's quite exciting because it's going to be an Evo because Evo's not easy to get to for a lot of players in the world, right? Tons of players have dreamed of entering an Evo in some way, shape, or form, and have never been, even to this day. Yeah, pretty decent players, right?
I mean, we spoke to Chuan. I think he said it cost like $5,000 for him from Malaysia to Evo for the weekend. That's well out of the realms of most people. Even as professionals, it's really hard to justify that kind of spend.
That's crazy. Wow. Even booking in advance, man, that's insane. So that just goes to show you it's not an easy place to get to for a lot of players. Even some players in America never been to blooming Evo. Yeah. So this is a great opportunity for everyone to get a little taste of what is considered probably the most prestigious fighting game event in fighting game history. So I'm really excited to see it's back in its online.
So they are running some open events across the Evo weekend, but Street Fighter 5 is not on the list of open tournaments. It's strictly invitational exhibitions happening around the world. So look forward to that. It's going to be happening over the coming weekends. Keeping it on the subject of online tournaments, we focused heavily on NLBC ahead of N8 East and all the great stuff that's happening out there, and all of the competitors that have been involved in NLBC sharpening their swords and giving us great entertainment every week, but also preparing for the CPT. Well, the Wednesday night fights this past week, last week, sorry, for the first time opened up to the whole of the West Coast, because it was for the last couple of weeks it's been focused on SoCal area, and they've just opened up to the whole of the West Coast. Again, in preparation for CPT NA West, which is happening in August. So they're going to get a good couple of weeks runs. How important is that, do you think, to just get used to playing on these connections with all of the wider variety of players? Because, playing the guys that, you're comfortable, you got your 5 bars, it's all stable, I'm testing my stuff out. Now, I think Brian F. said when we spoke to him before, like, when I go online normally, I'm trying stuff out with the view to take it offline, so I play in a certain way. Yeah. But now all your online training is for an online tournament. How important do you think it is to have that kind of experience and opening it up to everybody that you will have potentially play in the CPT?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's extremely important, but also, from the perspective of the player, right? You don't want to be in a situation where you're being exposed to that for the first time in the actual bloody tournament when your CPT life's on the line, right? So it's a fantastic move from the guys that covering the event, expanding it in that way, and it's only going to benefit the players. You're an absolute idiot if you don't take advantage of that and enter and expose yourself to those environments. You're an idiot if you think you're just going to turn up on a day and nothing bad's going to happen. Absolutely take advantage of that. It's fantastic that they're doing it, and it's something that every player should make the most of between now and actual the NA West taking place in August. So it's a great move.
Well, I have to give credit to the Wednesday Night Fights team, Level Up Live, for putting it together. We spoke to the legend that is Uncle Valle, Mr. Alex Valle, about Wednesday Night Fights and some of his thoughts on where the West Coast is at the moment in terms of the competitive meta across
for the region,
America, and of course the rest of the world, and just some of his thoughts about the times that we're in and what players can do to build up themselves as strong competitors, but also as brands. Very interesting insight from a man who has not only competed at the highest level, but has also been a pillar of the community in America for a long time and given some people some great events. So, yeah, some really interesting words here from Alex Vaya. I hope you enjoy them.
One of the recurring questions about running Wednesday Night Fights online is what regions are allowed to play in it. We only started it in like just the SoCal area to just let people play, online. After the season started for the Capcom Pro Tour Online, our players over here saw that like it would be probably a good idea to start opening up the regions to all of West Coast to be the similar eligibility as Capcom Pro Tour NA West. And I've always thought of that, even from the get-go. I mean, we should open it up, but it's not up to me. The way that like I run events and Jimmy run events is we take obviously the community's feedback first and foremost. The community has to let us know what they want. That's what I've learned when I first started hosting events, that's the community feedback. So yeah, opening up to all of West Coast makes sense. Capcom Pro Tour Online just started. It was a good practice run. And the important thing is the feedback now, because some people still want it to be like maybe a monthly or bi-weekly just to test it out. But now more and more people are like, yo, this is this is what needs to happen in order to train for the tour.
Focus on your strengths as a Dalton player in Street Fighter V. That doesn't mean to play defensively. Versus Rashid, you actually have to play offensively. So he took that, and then he evolved his game. Because, dude, the good thing about Street Fighter V versus, like, classic games you kind of only have to play one way. Street Fighter V actually gives you a little bit more options into a dash punch. So Matoha knows, dude. I don't really have to tell him much more. Like, every time I see him play, I'm like, dude, I don't really have to tell you much more. You just have to do it now.
Yeah, you just have to execute it in here, in the gameplay, and it's working out as he gets the throw. Things that I need to do.
I love it, dude. Like, you're gonna go for the trades. Okay, all right. He hit you like 3 times in a row. One of them's gonna. This is Street Fighter V. One of them's gonna land, and you.
It's gonna,
yeah, and you do more damage. Look at it. He's almost stunned. He's in the corner, thinking he has to get out. Fight him.
Yeah, put the mental stack on this. Yo, slug it out. You're right. Slug it out. You're gonna make the damage.
Yo, who cares? Okay, you're in the corner. Jump out. Who cares? Do something. Yeah, look at that jump.
Yeah. Dash up.
Yeah, dude. Jump again. Ooh. See? Dude, he's listening to me. He's listening to me. Wow, Matoha. Yeah, dude. Damn. Dude, I'm telling you. I love me some Commander Jesse. I love me some Dankadias, right?
Hey man, running events is hard, my man. it's really difficult, and it's in finding a balance for players to enjoy the event, but also go in for the glory, right? Go in for like, oh, I want to win this thing. Like those guys going for the glory, that's like the 1%, right? That's just a fraction, a little fraction of that tournament. Everybody else, though, like the thousands of competitors. They're the ones that are like chasing that dream, down the road. They're not sure. They just want to have fun. The way that I've figured out a balance is just to throw it, just to host, right? Because everybody talks about, oh, I hate this and I hate that. And, there'll always be that category of players and, community members. In a way, numbers don't lie. Like when you host a certain event that people can keep going back to, there's something right for that. You did something right. If you get the feedback that it's like, yo, that's not the right place to be at, you stop seeing certain players attending, you're getting bashed at, like either the stream presentation or what somebody said. I mean, all these little things matter. People stop watching the event, people stop going to the event, and obviously that's not the right thing to do. Hopefully down the road, even for those people that don't like certain things, they learn that like it's not just about them, because there's no way you can cater to everybody. There's absolutely no way. So to answer the question of finding balance is just host the event, get the feedback, and then start rolling out new features to
and this is more of like Colleen playing footsies at the ranges where her fears, except that move, her fears pretty much, gives Mika a hard time overall. But first, you gotta get out of this corner.
I don't think it's gonna happen though. There's the EX for the stun. A little bit of bar. Nope, it's gonna get the done. Jump in with the perfect KO.
To be behind that much of a deficit, to build a game plan around it, it's like you're gonna have to make that big comeback every round. And how likely is that? Okay, at least this time now, he's got the lead, so he can finish.
There
off.
we go.
There we go.
Stays in front the entire time, gets a fat reset. This is what we wanted to see before. Commander Jesse with the finish. That was great. Stay in front with that mix.
All right, so man, Wednesday Night Fights online has really brought in everybody that we've wanted to see that could not make the offline event. I mean, we got the Mario brothers, Mario and Luigi. They can attend the weekend events that we've hosted with Jimmy, the Rebel Conquest events and stuff. They went to those and they did really well. Actually, one of the players that normally shows up to Wednesday Night Fights but doesn't really make top 3 or it makes top 8 once in a while has really impressed me, which is Mataoha, the Balrog player. He's come such a long way. Just going through people like me, Jesse, freaking Denka Diaz, JB, Sal, like all of us, right? Like every week we're grinding, and he's just like, what the hell do I do, right? And he's a Balrog player, but he had to go through 2 of his demons in the last tournament, and he beat one of them. Outside of that, we had NorCal play, we had LPN come and play, we had Samurai play. Those 2 were very everybody expected them to make top 8. They didn't even make top 8. We have Noah the Prodigy, very, very young kid. And he started going to our events when he was like 8 years old. He lives in Lompoc, California, so that's almost 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours away. Driving this, he's been placing top 8 in every Wednesday Night Fights online that we've hosted so far. We're getting more of the West Coast to step up, but even though JB won that event, he didn't really enter Wednesday Night Fights online until recently. So nobody's really seen how he's been doing lately, but it looks like he's been pretty sharp. And then we have Chris CCH, all the way from Seattle. Obviously, it's a hell of far away. That's actually he was expected to get top 8, and he's been doing so well for the West Coast. Another young star. So I really hope these guys keep coming at Wednesday Night Fights and practice for that tour, man, because this is it. This is the tour that we're getting. You just reminded me. Punk entered the Wednesday Night Fights last week. Yeah, so Punk entered Wednesday Night Fights last minute, and he didn't even make top 8.
Got the first one here. But again, you're right. It's all about being like glue with this. But you got to be careful about what you do, because Matoha definitely can capitalizing things. But there's the stun, and with the meter this character has, you might be done. No, not yet. No, didn't build up enough for Sia. Goes for the reset. I didn't even think Sakura had resets like that.
The future. Where do I see the future of the West Coast Street Fighter players? Like, where are they going? What is it gonna take? And how to get them? It's $1 million question, right? Like, that can be said to any region, and that should be said to any region. How do we push them to the limit? What do we got to do? You need purpose. You need purpose to these things. And the tour just started, so when the tour wasn't announced and people were just like, oh, what do we do? And there's no tournaments to go to. They weren't really taking Street Fighter or any fighting game as serious, with some purpose. Like, oh, I can travel to an event so I can prove that I'm leveling up. Tours around now. Now it's serious. It's there now. There's no excuses, and we can get everybody kind of interested again in competing.
I think again, seeing the East Side go at it like they want their chance too. Supis bringing out the Seth, but this is funny because a lot of people said when this character dropped that it would be a counter to Rashid, and I don't think it's like that. But I think this character does have some good things, but low health is not one of them. And when you're stuck in the corner, you gotta make some decisions. EXTP a little too obvious, Stupendous.
The teleport Dimitri DP.
Yeah.
The mad cradle. Yeah.
Didn't work out. He's still in a crouch counter. The follow up. Gets a shimmy, stun. Not enough to kill, I don't think. Yeah, even with the 2 bars, still gonna have some scaling. Another decision, Stu, not that one. You picked, yep, the answer was A, you picked B.
What's funny about this, though, is myself included, all of us get our training online more so than off. Part of growth is adapting to the environment. I've done it from the arcade era, playing on those big ass sticks and hard ass buttons, to like, we got to go to console. I'm like, what the hell is this? I got to use this little like thing, and I can't use the Japanese sticks. I'll break something, right? That's how it was. Every competitor nowadays, they got to go through the same growing pain. Knowing that we're online, they have to figure out how to adapt to this thing. But what I can suggest here, though, play people that, you know, within your region that you might play in the tournament, because this is the way it is. Now, those 3 bars, those 2 bars, they're entering, so to stop avoiding them. Because I know there's a lot of people that only play, you know, 5-bar connections. They won't bother to play any other connection. But this is a tournament. This is what you got to do. So once they get past those hurdles and figure out, okay, you know what, I accept that the tournament is in this environment. Now I got to practice, you know, with not good netcode, great netcode, whatever the case may be, to help my progress. You can see the confidence in everybody. They're more easily marketable, right? Because now they have the support of the game, right? They're streaming a lot more. They are presenting themselves better. Like, they understand the situation, but they're fighting through it. And I can guarantee you this: if you are that person, you get through all these hurdles with the issues at hand, people are going to remember this. Either your peers, the publishers, sponsors on the road, and be like, dude, you had a good chip on your shoulder, and you've sent a positive message that you're competing, and you have a target. Now, if we can get through this, if all of us can get through this, by the time that we're back into the scene, nothing's going to stop you. It's still your job to let it be known that you're there. You know, there's just a lot of people nowadays are very quiet. There are still a lot of people are quiet about like their performance, or like very shy. But you know, it's and that's okay. You know, it's all right. But just my advice to really shine through this is you need mentorship. It's okay to ask your peers, ask a tournament organizer, like, hey, you know, I'm at this position of my competitive career, or just what am I doing with this stuff? I see not just the West Coast, but every region now. Every year, every region, there's a lot of new stars coming up, and that won't stop. I think we were, from the beginning, we were already winning like a lot of major tournaments back in the days, and then like the East Coast caught up really quick, right? The world caught up even quicker. So it's just, that's what it is. It's a competition within the world now. Honestly, I think right now that the East Coast has a lot more rising stars for sure. They have a lot more visibility, a lot more events. You know, there's a lot more support going on in the region. Versus like the West Coast, there's not as many events, but there's more coming. But I think there's still some uncertainty if a lot of players want to compete because of the issues at hand. And I've noticed, you know, I noticed some of the players is feedback that they're just not really that interested compared to the East Coast. East Coast are all in it. So it's very entertaining to see the East Coast play, because they really want to,
some things like that, bursts and things like that. You gotta like make the right decisions. Crush counter, get the anvil, side switch, EX. And Jesse's in there. He ain't leaving. Overhead though, Matoha. We saw this before. Can Matoha make it work out even more now? More pressure here. EX flame. Locked down, but the anti-air. The snipe from the sky. Shooters on the roof.
Find a purpose. You know, find a purpose to play in it. right? Like if it's just the fun and shits and giggles, great. If it's to beat, you know, Bob over here that's been beating your ass every time you invite him over, then, you know, find a purpose. And then with this, you start to make goals, right? You'll like, that's how you improve, man. And we need more of these. We need more, obviously, awesome interviews like this. We need summits. We need people like to kind of, nobody understands it. They just play mindlessly, and there's just a win-loss, and there's depression. There's all this stuff that we really need to let them know that they're not alone. You know, all of us get depressed or get angry or whatever when we lose, but it's just part of the game. So, you know, it's a lonely, and also it's a lonely road on top, because when you do reach at the top, you are by yourself because now there's a target on your back. So it all comes in full circle. It all does.
What can I do to kind of goad him into this? Axe kick lands, the cheap stuff. You should plate those stupendous. The super, the chip. Super of his own, Commander Jesse. This time again, it works out for stupendous. Yo, the call out in the V reversal. Again, he punishes. The train gets a bondage. Matt Creel down to the ground.
Oh, he got
Axe kick.
Oh, he tried to shimmy. Yo, that was a sick scramble, dude. He almost got it.
Yeah, so future plans for Wednesday Night Fights online, and you know, this is finally from the feedback that we got from the players is that instead of just doing a monthly all open Wednesday Night Fights, we're looking into doing a weekly version of this. It just makes more sense. The players can totally see the urgency now, because otherwise it's such a pain in the ass to set up an appointment to play these days and to practice. So and Wednesday Night Fights is that appointment, actually. Like it kind of forces them to like play everybody's connections, or at least as many as they can fight, versus kind of like seeking them out, because it is a rough road not having that, you know, that sense of urgency for one. Two, you know, getting all the players together, right? Because if there's no events around, there's no tournaments, like where do you find them, right? You can kind of like start tagging them and send them DMs like, hey, will you be on at like 2 p.m., 8 p.m., 7 p.m.? Like, oh no, I got this, I got that, and all the excuses comes. Now is not the time for the excuses. So so Wednesday Night Fights, I'm going to open it up every week for the entire West Coast region. It's got to be done. You know, it's just for the players' sake. For the fun part, I'm just hoping that you know, players don't get discouraged too much about like the online stuff. You also have to think about this will help you in the end. If you want to play, you know, casually in a more casual sense and shits and giggles, just, you know, you can take a break from entering every week. Enter like one or enter maybe two in a month or something. You don't have to burn yourself out and enter all of them. So that's going to be a thing. And you know, NLBC does their thing every week. It is so awesome to watch those guys play. You know, we get to see more of them come up, and hopefully, you know what? After we're all done with this again, we can have another like WNF NLBC, but this time it won't just be New York and Cali. It'll be more of like spread through the West Coast. It'll be a true West Coast versus East Coast competition. You know, we'll have more states involved. I'll reach out to Spooky and those guys to see if they're down. Henry Sen, you know, I love those guys. Those guys, you know, it's a perfect balance, man, of getting all that content out to us every week. And those guys work like crazy. Shout outs to them. And you know, we got our thing going on just, you know, once a week, but like as you can see now we're deep into the tour, so you know what we've been working on in the background. We couldn't talk about it yet. So but now like my local TL-ness is coming out. Like, dude, you know, I want the West Coast to really feel that they're getting the platform to compete at the highest level every week.
Here we go. Activation, feature time. Commander Jesse, bring things back. Man. You don't want to let JB get the momentum, get things going.
Couldn't connect it.
There's a parry though into the super, and it lands.
Dude.
Damn,
Jess.
He does have a life lead. Jump out, gets caught. Yo, if you could just stay alive a little bit more. If you could just stay alive, Commander Jesse just back off. But the tornado's coming, the Twister's coming in the distance. The tornado.
Oh, the throw.
The back dash with a call out. A little bit more though. The parries are
so
again and into the super.
Wow.
With a finish.
No, I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be entering NA West. I can tell you guys, it's no secret that I haven't been playing much. These times right now, I'm focusing more on, getting by day to day. We don't have the offline events, so we had really big plans for a new age of offline events. It's kind of back to the drawing board on those, and hopefully execute them in 2021. All the online events is what we've done, since the beginning of this, and the focus is there now to make sure that the online events are quality. We're getting the feedback from the players, what to do with these, and Wednesday Night Fights is one part of it, but there's stuff in the pipe that we can possibly innovate with down the road. Some of the stuff has already been shown, kind of like have you guys seen the pictures on the Capcom Pro Tour? Shout outs to Jimmy for having a little bit more personality on the online stuff. Is some of our goals. Online is not very personable, so we're at least trying to find more creative ways to showcase the players and their sponsors, and it's a whole different world now that we have to deal with. In my spare time, I stream Resident Evil Resistance, so I have a lot of fun with that right now, and it's a Capcom game, and I do play a lot of other games, but I just haven't had a chance. But yeah, not entering this year, so it's not too bad. I'm a little sad, but not too much, because I think going back to mentoring the players has to take priority again. So it's just I think a lot of the players are not as motivated, and I can see it. So I got to find out what the problem is, and hopefully we can we can be strong again as if it were the offline scene.
So good. His meter usage is so good. His knowledge of when to kind of hold the brakes a little bit, and how much he understands how JB wants to play. Obviously, from months and months of playing each other, we're running long sets. You can see it right here. It's like the third layer of fighting games coming out right here. Try to get the overhead raw like that. Gotta cook that, my friend. Check it outside the corner. Yeah, such a good lead right here. This is good. To me, this is going to determine so much. Back throw to do it. I'm telling y'all people right now, this determines so much. You reset the bracket, you keep that same heat, that same fire. It's even harder and harder, because now, styling out. Can't be perfect all the time, but gotta be punching like that. Gets the EX, Parabellum. A little bit bar, a little more left in the tank.
Ooh, okay.
Keep some pressure on, get some crush counter. Fine, this could be big, there's the shimmy. Commander Jesse is on game point, people. Commander Jesse, the man that's been smashing his controller all day. He knows that one conversion will mean the world right now. To put on set point again. No. But the counter hit, it's going to be anyone's game with this defensive option. Nothing there.
Oh, the walk back by JB.
If the scene had flawless netcode, it would be the de facto qualification process to every tour. The whole landscape changes at that point. You can have big prize fights every night now. Crazy exhibitions. The tournaments would be like, if we can play globally, that's insane. But even regionally, if we can play continent to continent, you can still achieve that. You can imagine if we can have, an NLBC, a WNF that's all encompassed every week, right? Which probably be a weekend event or so. and everybody would have a chance to play each other hardcore, or the practice regiments now. Like IDOM can be playing, Samurai every week or something. Or every day, instead of just playing within a few states away. The training would be a much more robust. The exhibitions, the tournaments, even for like the casual streamer, if they wanted to stream versus like and play versus like a celebrity that's way down and wherever, they can actually have a legit match, right? They wouldn't even have to have him in studio, right? So like a lot of the whole landscape would be more acceptable. You know what the complaints would be at this point? It would just be like balance changes. Balance changes would be an everyday argument, more so than the netcode. League of Legends, right? Like the qualification process is online. It's all online. So, in order to get into their season leagues, so some people may not like that format, but it's very cost effective. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be the death of offline events. That would just make the competition even tougher now, because people would want to like get into the they would want to get into the space knowing that they have equal access to everybody, and showcase that, because the offline events will always, even if there is no lag at all in these in online play, the offline events you can tell in fighting games that's where home is. And I've worked in various venues, and I've seen offline competitive gaming events for other genres, and they're still separated, right? They're still kind of there's a big fandom, yes, but the players are kind of like just, it's not the same. Versus if you see like a local fighting game tournament, everybody's mingling, everybody's having a great time, they're all playing together. So I don't think in that regards it would change much. It would just make the competition it would make the competition better, and that's what we want.
That's
JB, match point JB right now. I was looking right now at Jesse. I was prepared to say, where Jesse's, but no. JB said, no. I'm flipping the script. I'm ripping out the pages. I'm writing something different right here. It's the new or the cross up. Some in the corner. Needs pressure, constant pressure right here from JB. The chase up. I've seen it so many times. You cannot jump out for free. He has labbed that out.
good jump back. The awareness.
But now calling the V-Trigger is a way different beast right here. Whiffs the pair. That's unfortunate.
No, under 50% life. V-Trigger's out. And he even jumped back just to make sure she didn't get out. Oh no!
The awareness, though, the punish. He thought he had the
wake up super.
He bet it all, and he's going home with nothing. It will be UYU's JB that takes this week's Wednesday night fights online. We had 70 plus top level competitors on the West Coast, and it's JB that takes it over everybody in the hungriest of match. This man's going home with a fat stomach.
Thank you very much to the legend that is Alex Vi. Don't forget Wednesday night fights every Wednesday, as the name suggests. Opened up to the whole of the West Coast as they lead in to the NA West CPT, which I think is happening mid-August. I want to say mid-August.
I'm going to leave you to hold that one.
I can't remember the date.
It's in August. That's all I know. I'm not going to try to be that specific.
I'm not on the website. Never mind. I know it's in August, though. Let's move on, because I know an event that is coming up, and it's this weekend.
I was going to say, there's not the only CPT to look out for, mate.
It is. South American CPT. For the first time as well, they have their own region. I mean, they had Latin America South for online, but it was grouped together in the Latin America region, which included Central America. So you had the likes of Mexico and DR, Puerto Rico.
They all know each other quite well, those two communities.
Yeah, a lot of those countries play.
But actually, as a standalone region, I think from the research we've done the last week, and also
it's a surprising amount of players.
It's an incredibly strong region. Yeah.
So let's go through the list of countries that are included in South America for the CPT. It's Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, which is going to be the majority of the players that we're aware of. Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Venezuela, Peru, and Uruguay.
Wow. I mean, it's and in terms of like player depth, of course, you mentioned Brazil being good, but you've also got some pretty strong players from Chile there as well.
Yeah.
Decent pool of players from some of the other regions too. And I don't know, there might be some surprise guys from some regions we never heard of. We had this with Europe East, right? With guys we never heard of coming from Kuwait and making it all the way to the top 16.
Well, I did do some sort of provisional research and reached out to some of the community heads in the region, and even some players from Central America, I guess.
Yeah, because they know him really well, yeah.
So obviously, look at Brazil. Brazil is obviously going to be the most well-known region. It's had the most representation, especially when it comes to Capcom Cup. They've had
Red Bull Kumite as well.
They've had premieres. The reigning champion of Latin America for the regional finals is Zenith from Brazil, and we've got a really great interview with him coming up in a little bit.
Big up Zenith.
But you've also got Brolinho, who I don't think is signed up, but he actually does still have the best record online.
He does. He's quit now. He's retired, mate. He saw your show, right?
And he's like, that's it.
He's like, oh, I'm not playing anymore.
I couldn't find him and it's closed. I know it's closed, so I couldn't find him on the registration.
It's a shame.
Unless he's changed his name and he's going under a pseudonym. Dynamokov, who
of course, Dynamokov
was staying in America. I think he's back in Brazil now because I think he's signed up.
I mean, easily at one point, a lot of people's favorite Dalsim in the world. So I think he was the first guy to really take like aggressive Dalsim to another level. Awesome to see he signed up. Very excited for him.
Speaking of other players that have represented at Capcom Cup, Kiyoma.
Oh, the legend.
Famous for his appearance in Capcom Cup 2015.
The last Street Fighter 4. Yeah.
But he's been kind of on and off with Street Fighter 5, but he's a talent, so he's definitely one to look out for. I'm not sure whether he's looking more at Carrion or G at the moment. I'm not sure. Choo Choo as well in the region.
Choo Choo for a long time. But who does Choo Choo play these days? Has he gone back to Sakura?
I don't know enough about. I'm just putting.
I don't really see Choo Choo. When I search, I couldn't really see many matches for him. But we know he's obviously traditionally a Sakura player. So I wonder because she's pretty relevant now. If that's made him go back.
Well, they do have Tiger Upper Quarter, which is the regular events. I think it's in Sao Paulo. I do apologize if I get any of these facts wrong, but this is my basic level research that we've done. We're going to obviously be back on Saturday before the CPT with a lot more insight.
That's it. That's
some
how it works.
Direct words from some of the players to look out for this weekend. I mean, normally we're pretty good with speaking to players in advance of the event. Normally, most of them qualify. We've had, I think, all but one every week has generally qualified for top 8 that we've spoken to with interviews. This one I have no idea.
Yeah, it's really hard to call.
Because
I mean, I have to put it to you. What would be considered a normal result in this? And is there a dark horse that you've been made aware of, like in the conversations you've had? Because like a normal result sounds like maybe Zenith, Dynamokov. Is that kind of?
Well, you got players like HK Dash and Dark, who are both really talented in Brazil region, but. We're forgetting about some of the the other countries out there that have
Colombia,
good representation. So Peru have Picoro.
Picoro, yeah, of course, Picoro.
He didn't qualify for Capcom Cup in 2018, but he was there. I think because was it crossover that couldn't get
someone couldn't get there, so he was the next.
And he held a decent account of himself.
He did,
definitely looked like he belonged there. So Picoro was definitely one to watch out for. They've got Nero the Boxer, Darlan, Funky in Peru. Chile, they've got Mysterio, who I know about as well.
Mysterio. Young who? Is that?
Argentina, I've been told to look out for Dookie and Shaka specifically. I don't know enough about these guys, but there's a list of players that are threats, and this one is up in the air. I think we're gonna go over and see what Zenith has to say, because he had some really interesting points to make about representation and how important these tournaments can be in terms of giving platforms for talented players that have difficulty to travel. And it kind of syncs up with what we had with Southeast Asia, last week.
Makes sense.
They've got some really talented players, but they don't have the depth of sponsorship and the huge amount of cost involved in traveling to some of these big tournaments. and of course the obstacles for them in terms of visas to travel.
Yeah.
Which, as we mentioned, with Crossover and Picoro ended up with Crossover not being able to get Zenith benefiting from eFight Pass. Shout out to Sherry Genix doing amazing work with the eFight Pass program and helping a lot of these players travel. Some really, really insightful and interesting words from Zenith, who going into the tournament is probably the favourite to win it all, but who knows what can happen. Let's hear from the man himself, and we'll be back on the other side with a little bit more discussion about South America CPT coming up this weekend. So don't go anywhere. Check this out.
Okay, my name is Rafael. My nick that I used to play is Zenith, and I'm a match player. I've been playing Street Fighter V since 2018, and last year I was in Capcom Cup and Latin Finals. I won the Latin Finals, and I won a major in Brazil, and that's why I'm here.
Let's go. Good stuff there, Lilo. Very nice.
I like the control already. That was bad. That EXDP, that's going to be trouble. Zenith sets up the orb, slides in there. Forward throw this time. And look at that stun ball already. Goes for the switch. Gets stunned instead. Oh, man, Zenith.
Oh, with the reset, sneaked it in. Big damage. Wow, that was a perfect KO, a.k.a. bust-ass round. Close that up.
You smell it?
Well, Capcom Cup was amazing because I could be in touch with the best players in the world, the best players in the season, and traveling to LA to play the Capcom Cup was such an amazing experience because I was playing only in Brazil since I began playing, and in just 1 year and a half, I was able to go to Capcom Cup and be there. I don't know, I still can describe that. It was really, really amazing. It was just, again, 1 year and a half of beginning going to tournaments and winning some tournaments, and then boom, I was there. It was like achieving a dream, you know?
Calling it ain't real. Crouch jab gets him out every time, but now Zenith with the life lead. Spans a bar this time.
We got that lead, absolutely. We good, and we got a V-reversal to play with just in case that high pressure situation.
No, I was not playing before 2018. I stopped playing fighting games for like 10 years. Last time I played fighting games like in arcades and stuff was in, I don't know, maybe 2005. And then suddenly I came back. When I got Street Fighter V for the first time, I was not enjoying so much the rooster. So they released Menat, and she had a connection with Rose that was my favorite character. And then I decided to play. And once I saw Goichi playing with her, I was like, oh hell, I need to play with her. I need to be good with her. So that's when I started playing. That's when I started to train. I started to play again.
And he switches sides, okay.
Oh, this is not looking good. That stun is heavy. Good break on the throw. Dash punch ready with the neutral jump again. That's the stun. That might be the one. Zenith continues.
I don't know exactly why, but once Menat was released, I felt like she fitted perfectly to my play style. You know, maybe sometimes I can be sloppy, but she can solve this kind of problem during the match if you pay attention. Like you can drop a combo, but you always have a chance to turn things on your favor with her. And I had some lucky because the greatest players in Brazil, most of the greatest players in Brazil are in São Paulo. So in my first tournament, I was able to play against Digimokov in the winners finals, and I won against him in my first tournament. And then I was playing with 8K Dash. 8K Dash is the best Bison in Latin America. You know, when Itazan, Haitani, and Storm Kubo came to Brazil, they were astonished by his Bison, and I was able to train with these guys. my two first training partners were Didymokov and 8K Dash, and later I started playing against Shushu. Shushu is an awesome player, so I think that's why I became good quickly. You know, training with the best.
Oh,
Brimstone.
Brimstone.
Do it again.
With
No.
the forward fist. That he said plus a tres. Oh, wow. And we switch
Side
side.
switch?
No,
No.
no, no. Again, it looks like he's going to do it, though. Oh, no. He thought the trade on the Nadeshko, he was going to have enough time off the hit stun.
Oh, you know, CPT Online, I have mixed feelings about it because I know it's really important to play with many players as possible without leaving your home. It's expensive to travel. The experience here in Brazil, in South America, is not that good online. I think it's better to learn the matchups, but it's not so good to play the tournaments, you know. Sometimes it's hard to play with people that lives nearby you. That's my case. I had some problems playing online tournaments. It is important because everyone has a chance to play. It's democratic, but at the same time, it doesn't provide the same experience as offline tournament.
Standing strong. Look at the damage.
We
Damn.
close to him.
Stop.
I like the chase. Oh, the anti-aim with the horse. No, not yet.
How
there
is
it
he
is.
getting
We
these
got-
confirmed?
We got to make a decision.
Oh, get off of
Oh,
me.
the tag.
Oh, Free Willy, get up off of me.
The community here is amazing. It's just, oh, my cat. He was just curious. The community here in São Paulo is just it's amazing. We have Tag Per Quarta. That's the shirt I'm wearing. It's our weekly tournament, and every Wednesday we gather like 40 to 60 players. You know, on a Wednesday night. The Tiger Per Quarta is a really strong tournament. You can have in the same night. 8K Dash, Dimokov, Shushu, Keoma. You can have some players from all around Brazil that come over to visit us, and to have an idea about how strong our community is. When Itazan came to Brazil, he got 5th in our tournament. The best thing about our community is that almost everyone, we are friends. We hang out together. We go out together. We have lunch together, dinner together. So it's an amazing community. Everybody is missing Tiger Per Quarta so much, like right now. We got some people from the community throwing some online tournaments weekly. Like I think we have now 2 weekly tournaments, and people are going to play. People are playing, and it's a way to I don't know, maybe make the wait for the lockdown, for the end of lockdown a bit better, you know.
Gets the charge dropkick, definitely was holding up right there. Not able to get a confirm off of it. Speaking of confirms, this dude Zenith, jeez, every time, oh man, if he would have got that, I would have been mad. I would have been mad for a minute. And another one spins the EX bar where he fights himself out of the corner, and the button placement is too good to jump in. The anti-air, that's gonna secure Zenith his showing in grand finals representing Brazil.
Well, talking about Menax, it's good because she's a different character. I think the strongest part of her is that she plays something like an anti-meta game, you know? She, when everyone wants to rush down, she doesn't need to do that to win a match. She can poke you, she can annoy you with her normals. If someone said once that you can play her because the nerfs, I don't know, maybe this player doesn't know all about her. I think she's fair. She's better now than before. When Capcom gave her 3 meters, the trigger, Capcom obliged the players to learn her neutral a lot more. Capcom made us know how to play without the trigger. So when we get the trigger, it's to end the match. About matchups, bad matchups, I think Rashid is a bad matchup. He every character that has a strong offense, a really strong offense like Rashid, Mika, they can give Menat a hard time because she doesn't have defensive options. It's difficult to reach her, but once you are really close to her, she is really weak. She can deal with every character in the cap, and some characters has truly a hell when playing against her. You see Zangief, he doesn't do nothing against her. She's a really competitive character, even in the season 5.
Guys, make some noise! Grand Finals, Latin America Regional Finals right now. Sets up the orb. Oh, that was a nice reaction on both ends. Just turns out Zenith was prepared, activates the trigger.
Combo videos. Oh, the dome.
The reset.
Oh, and he kept the orbs. I thought he used it. Oh my God. Oh, the orbs.
Bro,
Stun.
look at these conversions. And he still got plenty of meter for the next round, man.
You know, I think Shushu is in a awesome moment in Street Fighter V. He has 2 strong characters, Chun-Li and Ibuki, and he has really mastered both of them. So I think he's really strong. But we have Dimitri that plays Mika, and he has a awesome roulette kind of a play style, and he plays Poison, and his Poison is really strong, and I think they are really big threats now. They both have 2 great characters that covers bad matchups one for another. So they are really good, and they really are threat. Oh, let's go.
That's the orb, and I feel like he needs to stay there, calls it back, and the conversion does not stop.
That was godlike, actually. You try to play hopscotch with my orb, this ain't that type of game to play. Nice anti-air with the super, closes it out.
Not at all. When we're talking about, especially São Paulo community, you can never say you're the favorite one. You have these guys I've already mentioned, Shushu and Dimitri, but you have Kioma, you have 8K Bash, you have Digimon Cop that is back to Brazil. You have just stay in São Paulo. You know, you have a bunch of great players. You never can say you're the favorite. It's all about the moment. And since we're not playing offline, you're not playing head-to-head, it's difficult to say who is in the best moment. Yeah, we see this kind of strong competition on Pegra per Quarta. There's no favorite player there. We can throw like 10 tournaments in a row with Kioma, Shushu, 8K Dash, Dimitri, and me, and we have several other guys that are really strong, and you can never say for sure who's gonna win. Every week is someone different that wins. Sometimes someone can win, I don't know, twice in a row, but that's it. Twice in a row, and maybe he's gonna be like for 3 or 4 months without winning.
To the crouch and medium punch, and now he's keeping that offense. Went for the throw again, he was ready, and that's a back throw.
That's crazy. That's how much plus range it was on that double burst. He couldn't even get the grab off. Oh, combos.
Back throw again.
We still got 2 orbs though. So we got a mix-up opportunity. There it is. Oh, into the super. No stun. Landed.
And this goes for raw CA. Oh my God. He ended both rounds.
It's really amazing that Sherry was able to do this. She's a really passionate about the community. When she created If Fight Pass, she became one of the cornerstones of the FGC. If Fight Pass is I still don't have words to describe how huge is the difference this program make. You know, through If Fight Pass, I was able to go to EVO last year, and through If Fight Pass and just won. And I think it prepared me to be able to win Latin finals, because I was able to play with really amazing players, strong players. And there's a thing, when you are good in your community, you are just good in your community. You don't know what to expect. But once you go there and see the other players doing different stuff, and you can experience playing with them, you can. It's like it opens your mind about the game.
It's out of there though. It's cool. No homing missiles hit. Oh, that's gonna reach. Wow, you saw the micro walk forward to get the conversion.
You saw the little strut.
Yep.
And then the release.
I really hope all these guys from São Paulo community can have a chance to play outside Brazil. This year we were planning to go to several places. Like we would be going to NorCal and NGO in Chile, and we are planning to make a huge tour to Paris to play the last chance, so everybody could face strong players. Because I really need Brazil needs to show up more. We have really good players here.
Careful though, that CA is right there.
Oh no. Oh my God, with only 12 seconds on the clock. Opens everything.
That's gonna run the clock.
No.
That's gonna run the clock. We might have, well, I ain't gonna say it yet. You never know.
Nah, it's over, brother. It's over. We got ourselves a champion here. My goodness.
And
And Zenon will be going to Capcom Cup. He is your Latin America Regional Champion here at First Attack 2019.
Welcome back. It's always great to hear from these talented players, giving some of their insight into regions that really just don't get enough cover.
It's the local scenes. I love it. You know, Street Fighter is a universal language, and you're learning so much about how it translates to a nation like Brazil and the South American continent in general. It's just fascinating. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the event. It's going to be really hard for Zenith as well, because just going through some of the names that we mentioned, they've got 3 significant M Bisons that he's going to have to get past. It was Dookie was one, Picoro, and HK Dash.
HK Dash, of course.
So
so Picoro and HK Dash. I mean, in the weeklies, like, you know, I know HK Dash is always up there, and Picoro, obviously, we've seen him before. He's very solid. So don't know what the head-to-head records look like for him versus those guys, but you make a really strong point.
Yeah, I mean, I know on paper it's a difficult matchup.
What's Zenith saying these days? Because I only ever see him play Manat still. Is he,
yeah, he loves Manat.
Is he? I actually got to play him tons when I was at Evo. Really strong Manat. So many cool, unique things he does. But is he looking for cover at all? Does he ever? No. Well, that's that life, man. That's that Manat life. You know, it can go well or it can't. We'll see.
He's there, so that's a difficult one for him. A lot of M Bisons in the bracket, and you know how important it is to be blessed by the bracket gods, right? I really feel like SF5 is a game of matchups now.
Yeah.
And they're not unwinnable, but you know, anything that makes everyone's so good. You know, we're 5 years into the game. Everyone's so good now. Anything that kind of puts you at a hindrance, a disadvantage, it all builds up over time. And with a lot of uphill matchups, characters in the bracket that are difficult, then I mean, we've also got a couple of camis in there as well. Mysterio using carrying,
Choo Choo's rocking Chun-Li these days.
Yeah.
Is what I've
Who else did I pick out? We've got
seen
Shaka
that
and Didymokov both using Chun-Li.
Dalsim?
Sorry, Dalsim.
Dalsim,
Just
yeah.
said Chun-Li.
Couple of Dalsims in there.
So it'd be interesting. It's a hard one to pick, and for me, I'm going to just be basically sitting back and enjoying and discovering a whole load of players that I haven't been blessed with the opportunity to see too much of.
I'm trying to figure out who Kiyoma's playing these days.
It was
Is
carrying.
it still carrying?
It was carrying. He tried G. I'm not sure who's at the moment. Mysterio using carrying.
I saw him rocking Laura in a few games a few months ago as
Yeah.
well. Which everyone was like, pick Laura, but she isn't Abel. You know, we've seen guys like Shax make that transition from Abel to Laura really well, but she isn't Abel. But
I mean, it's a similar thing of I'm going to hit you in the neutral and put you in the blender and make you guess. It's a similar kind of combination grappler to Abel, but you're right, it's not the same.
It's that mobile grappler. But I could see him really. I mean, he didn't really give her that much of a chance because he likes that solid kind of neutral play that Abel has. But he could go crazy when he wanted to. You know, we'll see. He's a very talented player. We'll see if he can do something. It's going to be a tough one to predict, Logan, because we're not as exposed to the region. We know the players, having seen them when they've come over, and obviously seen some of their events, but we don't really know.
I'm very averse to speaking without like all the information.
Of course, yeah.
I like doing research. I like trying to watch the tapes. I like trying to pull stuff up. And when we come back on Saturday, that will be
no. You're not getting no, mate. No. You're gonna make a prediction. That's what you're gonna do because you did it to me, right? Now I'm gonna do it to you, mate. So you're gonna make your call, and you better be bloody right because you're a Street Fighter expert, mate. Yeah, no pressure. Who's winning this weekend?
I want to go for Picoro.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not a bad
matchup wise.
That's not a bad pick. Yeah.
Like, because you look at he's got. I mean, if I just look at the names that
he plays, who else does he play as well? He doesn't just play Bison. I think I've seen him whip out Claw as well.
I'm just going based on Bison.
Yeah.
From the names that were given to me by the community, I've looked them up and gone through their character choices, and Manat, that's favourable. Sim,
I mean,
that's favourable.
It's favourable.
It's favourable now that she doesn't get 2 V triggers.
No, it's true.
Around.
It is. Yeah, he definitely edges it.
So
Sim, I think when you play that well, that can be uphill for Sim.
Yeah. So I feel,
What about the camis? There's a couple of camis in there. I don't know how good they are, but there's a couple of camis.
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be a couple of camis.
Always going to be. Yeah. You're not a sick Bison if you can't.
I'm not putting my house on it. My car keys are not going in the. I'm not taking my watch off and putting it in the middle of the table. But you forced me. I'm going to go for Picoro. Who do you like? We'll come back to this on Saturday. But who do you like for today?
I'm just gonna play. I was gonna actually say Didymokov, but I took a look at his history, and since that 2017 when he was just on fire, he's really struggled to replicate that same level of consistency. And I think the locals have got really good at the Dalsim matchup in Brazil. So I'm not going to go Didymokov as much as I love his style. I think Zenith I'm going to go with. I'm just going to play it nice and safe.
Interesting.
I'm surprised he's not giving himself any cover for Manat, but then at the same time, that impresses me more. He's going to be even more stronger at those uphill matchups. And I don't think there's any matchups in Brazil or in South America that really shut him down. Yeah. He's good enough to overcome the uphill ones as well. So
it was the grand finals at the regional finals.
It was,
First Attack, and Zenith came out on top there.
2-0, I think it was as well. Yeah, it was pretty convincing.
We'll see what happens. That is what you have to look forward to this weekend. South America is the next stop on the Capcom Pro Tour here in 2020. We'll be back on Saturday.
Yes, we will.
For round 1, the pre-game show, as we speak to a number of players in the region. We'll be looking at Brazil, of course, alongside Peru, Chile, Argentina,
Colombia, Venezuela, everywhere.
All that we're going on tour. We're going to have fun in that region. That is going to get a lot of exposure, and rightly so. That's one of the great things about this CPT online format, being region locked. Yes, we are missing out on seeing the world's greatest every week, traveling from, but we are able now to focus on some of the local talent that maybe doesn't get the opportunity to travel and compete at premieres all the time. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, you guys are looking forward to it. I know Femi is.
Oh, I can't wait.
Can't wait.
Loving it. Weekends have never been the same, mate. I mean, I'm not even watching the Premier League anymore because it's over. Liverpool's won.
You're rubbish.
I'm just watching. Not yet. I'm not going to argue with that. Arsenal suck. But Street Fighter, much less predictable, much more fun. Let's get it in.
We'll be back on Saturday. Thank you very much for joining us. Take care, and don't forget, make sure you are following Capcom Fighters on Twitch and YouTube as well for all the archives. You can watch back all the action and all the great content that's happening week. Shout out to all the crew at Capcom, put together some amazing projects we'll be able to tell you a little bit more about going forwards. But for us, that is it. Take care. Good night.